Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission meeting for February 11th, 2026. It's 7 p.m. Let's stand for the pledge. Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Trombley, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Montry?
Here.
Mr. Lake?
Here.
Mr. Dersch?
Here.
Mr. Bushman?
Here.
Mr. Walters is excused. Mr. Andrews?
Here.
And Trombley's here.
All right, moving on to item number 4, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll support.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, approved. Item number 5, approval of the minutes from January 28th, 2026 meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of our January 28th, 2026 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Chair, before we vote, I'm going to abstain because I was not here for that meeting.
Thanks, Kyle. Would you like to do the same, Jacob?
I will.
All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it's approved. Moving on to item 6, public comment. May I remind the public, this public comment is for agenda items only, and you'll have a separate opportunity to speak to the public hearing items that are listed in our agenda. So if you have something to say agenda related, you're going to be able to speak then. You can speak now too, but you just get double duty.
Gail Kane, Temperance. My comment at this point, since I get to speak to each one of the, I'm going to encourage a no vote on both. And if given enough time, I will certainly explain why. I'm also going to ask that when each of you speak to these issues, I'm going to want to know, and the public deserves to know, if you did or did not do a site plan review. I can't imagine giving permission for something if you've not set foot on the site or if you've not gone out and looked. I have, both of them, and that's why I am saying I would encourage you to vote no. I would also expect, because it is part of the policies of the township, that when you do make a vote, that you give your reasons as to why you do a nay or a yay. And that's all I'm asking. You do a good job. Continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Anyone else from the public before we move on to our public hearings? Okay, seeing none, let's move on. So just before we get started, we have 2 public hearings on the docket tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open each hearing. We're going to have Jody read through a summary of the project that we're going to discuss, as well as flash up a site plan or rendering of each project. Then I'm going to ask the public to come forward and make their comment. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:04. This is a public hearing regarding the request from Jason Jindo, 7698 Watford Drive, West Bloomfield, Michigan, 48322 for a rezoning request of parcel number 58-02-035-039-00 from C1 local commercial to C3 general commercial on vacant parcel located on the south side of Stearns Road, east of Lewis Avenue. Jody, could you just please review?
Yes, again, the applicant is Jason Jindo, 7698 Watford. It is a parcel that is zoned C1 local commercial. The requested zoning is C3 general commercial, and it's approximately 1.07 acres. The vacant subject parcel is approximately 1.07 acres with 200 feet of road frontage on Stearns Road. The request is to rezone from C1 local commercial to C3 general commercial. The applicant has noted the requested rezoning of C3 General Commercial Zoning District is for the future commercial development. In the submitted letter, the applicant notes a gas station use to include the possibility of a car wash. The applicant also noted the intent is to combine 7370 Lewis Avenue to parcel 580203503900, and that no new primary building would be developed. However, no specific use should be taken into consideration, as all permitted uses, uses with conditions, and uses subject to special approval shall require site plan review and approval, and a gas station use requires site plan and special approval. And a car wash is not permitted adjacent to a residential zoning district. Surrounding zoning districts, south and east, RM1, multifamily residential, west is C3, general commercial, and on the north side of Stearns Road is C2, shopping center. Master plan designation, which we approved on 1/14 of 2026, the master plan designates this site as a medium to high density residential intended to support denser residential development such as two-family and multifamily housing and to provide alternatives to a traditional single-family subdivision development. The Planning Department requested a review of the rezoning request from Ms. Lucy Fortin from the Mannequin Smith Group, planner for Bedford Township. She supplied an overall review and the subject area, and the information is included in the packet. Ms. Fortin's review for the recommendation is as follows. Based on the site characteristics, surrounding land uses, development trends, and anticipated development intensity, we recommend that the Planning Commission move forward with a recommendation to the Township Board to deny the rezoning request for the parcel located on Stearns Road from C1 to C3 for the following reasons. The request is inconsistent with the Township Master Plan's future land use designation and long-term vision for the area. The subject parcel is adjacent to residentially zoned properties along Stearns Road and is better suited for a transitional use such as a neighborhood commercial or multifamily residential. Rezoning to C3 would permit a higher intensity commercial use that may adversely affect nearby residential areas and conflict with the established development patterns. A high-intensity commercial use would exuberate congestion and safety concerns along Stearns Road, which already experiences high traffic volumes and documented crash history. And continued development under the existing C1 zoning district would allow reasonable use of the property while ensuring compliance with the township site development standards, including the site and architectural design manual and appropriate buffering and screening from adjacent residential uses.
Thank you, Jody. Is there a representative from the applicant or the applicant present? Mr. Jindo, you want to step forward? Yep. So you'll have another opportunity for some question and answer, but before we do that, I just want to advise you that we are one member short and ask that you either defer or proceed. You want to proceed tonight? Okay, so quickly, before we hear from the public, do you have anything you need to correct from what Jody just stated?
I mean, I disagree with the findings, but other than that, no.
And we can get into that detail, but I want to hear from the public first, so thank you. And I want to open it up now to the public. We'll bring you back up.
Okay, thank you.
Question and answer. Thank you. Anyone from the public present and want to speak to this issue?
Is that just on this issue or on both?
Specifically for this rezoning request. There'll be another opportunity for the other request.
Mr. Chair, while he walks up, I would like to let the commission know that Mr. Lamar Frederick did stop into my department today, and he was unable to attend tonight, but he did voice opposition to the rezoning request, and the request is directly against the recently approved master plan. And he would like that documented for the record.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
John Shepard, Lambertville. I just have a quick comment. The location discussed in tonight's meeting currently provides a barrier between Mr. Jindo's Temperance Liquor Cabinet location and a senior living center. Bedford has historically been a town that appreciates its senior residents, and therefore it should stay that way. I believe in looking out for our own community members first before opening opportunities to outside investors. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Gail Kane, Temperance. I understand that this is clearly for just a rezoning. The problem is to do a rezoning without thinking what it could open the doors to is asking for a Pandora's box catastrophe. You just approved the master plan. Are we going to start already with making adjustments to what was voted on recently as approved? The impact on the residential is just not somebody's house. This is a vibrant life, nursing, assisted living. A lot of the veterans go there to spend their last years. This operation, for whatever it may turn into, because if you have one zoning on one side and another, and you can combine it later on because of what you change it to, you've opened up a mess. So the impact on that neighboring residential is going to be huge. The sound, the lights. If it is just gas pumps, that's traffic in and out 24 hours a day. Where are they going to bury the gas pumps? Then you've got your trucks that got to roll in and fill up those underground tanks. You're turning something that is apparently a clean area now into a brownfield, and there is questionable wetlands on that area, and I know that that all gets dealt with a site plan. But the problem is that I think we're misleading. I think the intentions for this person are misleading. They're wanting you to say yes, and I think it's going to open a door to what we're going to end up regretting. That intersection over there is awful. It's already being labeled as one of the most dangerous here again, because this is what we do. We shove everything onto our corners, and you have cars coming in and out. They skirt off of one road through a parking lot and out to the other side. That already happens. I can't even envision if we have cars coming back and forth. It just doesn't seem to make sense. I kept looking at the pictures. I've heard tell that his intent is to expand the buildings that he has on the other side. It doesn't show it, so we don't have any proof. But the bottom line is that it's not for a site plan. This is an open-ended invitation to allow him to do whatever he doggone well wants to do once you've changed it to C3. And I think at this point in time, you need to listen to what the planner is saying and just very carefully tread before you make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Anyone else from the public like to speak on this issue? You could please just state your name and address for the record.
Hello, thank you. My name's Shelley Merrick. I live in Lambertville. I've been a resident for over 25 years. And when I moved here, it was quiet. You still had the cows on Stearns. You didn't have to worry about people coming in and driving through your neighborhoods like maniacs or breaking into your stuff or anything else. Now, we have people who are coming, I'm sorry, but this gentleman doesn't live in our community, but he comes here and he's putting in liquor stores, which bring people from outside of our area, namely Toledo, which I don't mean to be picking on anybody, but it's just like the whole thing with wanting to put dispensaries up here. Someone thinks that's a good idea because it's going to cut down on crime. Well, I'm sorry, that's a bunch of BS. We're seeing, and I've been seeing it, like I said, for over 25 years I've been here, and our community has changed immensely and not for the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:14 p.m. And Mr. Jindo, I invite you back up to the stand. If you could just please state your name and address for the record with discussion.
Good evening. My name is Jason Jindo. I live at 7698 Watford Drive in West Bloomfield, Michigan.
Okay, thank you very much. Jody, could you flash up? So I guess just for the commission's benefit, or maybe just from the outset, Mr. Jindo did provide a concept of what he's thinking he may potentially develop this into should the rezoning request go through. I just want to state for the commission's benefit that we're reviewing all applicable uses for C3 zone, but it was kind of you to share that, so thank you.
Okay. Thank
Cody,
you.
did you have anything else to add, or was there any contents of the packet that were not shared in the summary there? If not, I'll open it up to the commission for
I
discussion.
believe that, other than going through the entire packet from Ms. Fortin, which was supplied to the applicant before the meeting, beforehand, I think the information speaks for itself then moving forward.
Okay. Mr. Jindo, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I prepared a statement, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Jason Jindo. I am the owner of the existing commercial property at 7370 Lewis Avenue, which is already Zone C3. I am requesting the adjacent parcel be rezoned from C1 to C3 so that I can design a safe, modern gas station layout as an expansion of my existing site. We already have the building and the C3 zoning. I create a new curb cut on the property that we have and remove the current curb cut that we have so that people can turn left onto Lewis easier. If there's concerns about the hours, lighting, noise, or truck or traffic, these can all be handled through the site plan and special use review process, where conditions can be applied and details refined. And that's basically what I'm asking, because it would be a lot cleaner if the pumps were able to go onto the left side. We do have other plans if we could do, if we have to, but this would, I believe, would benefit everybody as far as traffic, as far as just the layout, the ingress, egress. It would be better in my opinion. And that's all I got today.
Thank you. Any comments from the commission?
Sure, I got some comments. So I might be a little bit opposed to what Ms. Fortin said, although I respect her opinion very much and her analysis. I actually think that this would make sense to rezone to Z3. I'm going to make 8 points. One, the rezoning supports existing and established commercial patterns, so that whole corridor is essentially commercial already. A C1 it's kind of a spot that's, from a logical standpoint, doesn't really fit, right? You got a lot of C3 already there. You can combine locations right next door. It's more compatible with adjacent uses in a residential development run that's already a modest commercial developments in that area. A residential in that spot, per the master plan, doesn't necessarily fit right next to already C2, C3. Traffic impact's going to be minimal and more manageable than suggested. So just looking this up, this one parcel is an acre. It's 1 acre, right? A big box retail needs about 5 to 10 minimum. A strip mall is going to need 1.5 to 3 acres. The only other thing you're going to put if you zone this C3 is maybe a quick service restaurant. You need about a half an acre to an acre to develop that. One, I like the fact it's shared access with Lewis Avenue. It significantly reduces driveway conflict points on Stearns Road. So you got more access out to Lewis Avenue as opposed to everything flowing out to Stearns Road. While I know we can't really talk about what's going to go in there because we're talking about the rezoning, what he's proposing here, what Mr. Jindo is proposing is pass-by traffic. It's not meaningful increased congestion. If it was a residential, as suggested, now you've got a lot of people leaving and coming in at the same time every day, right? We're talking about this would be a multifamily residential if we went by what the master plan is stating. That's 3 so far. I've still got a few more to go here. One, the development, again, improves corridor functionality through the parcel consolidation, creates a larger, more functional commercial footprint, right? Because you're combining the 2 locations as one harmonious location instead of an issue having a smaller C3. Really, it's better planning practice compared to leaving a small, isolated lot underdeveloped. And then, let's see, the C1 can't support the intended reasonable use of the land. It would be underutilized as a C1. Again, it's 1 acre, not much you can do with it. I didn't want to talk about that. Another point is the master plan is a guide. It's not a mandate. And deviations are common, right? Where there are issues with the master plan and what's currently going on in the local area. This is why we exist, to make those changes that are appropriate to what's already going on in the environment. So one, and then also a lot of issues that we have as well in the original write-up is looking only at being a gas station. Remember that we're looking at the zoning. So a lot of those other things can be talked about at a site plan review when we start talking about controls on traffic, lighting, buffering, et cetera, right? So site plan is the time to start talking about that as opposed to right now. So with that, I'll pause and just allow for comment and commentary.
Anybody have any responses to Jake's comments? If not, I'll say something. Barry, you got something?
You go ahead. I'll try.
So maybe, Jake, to your comment about the acreage being insufficient for like most of the uses for C3 zone, I guess my argument would be, why would C3 be an appropriate zone then? It seems like C1 should be would be better suited for this use, given the size of the lot. Also, the buffer between, I mean, you look at the senior living space to have as intensive a use as C3. I understand your thoughts on combining the parcel, but the buffer that provides, even if it's still zoned as commercial, is something. If we go to C3, the number of uses we're opening ourselves up to is pretty immense compared to a C1. So I'm not in favor from that perspective. And then as it relates to the master plan, I'm with you as far as the master plan being a guide. I guess my argument against what you said about deviations, I mean, we just had the most opportunity to review and modify the master plan. We had a lot of discussion about this Lewis and Stearns corridor as part of our master plan review, and we did not make any changes or suggestions about future land use in this area. This future land use is actually for multifamily residential, not more extreme commercial use, and so I'm not in favor in that regard either. But
Could I add a comment to that?
sure.
I mean, I know we're worried about the buffer with the retirement home, but, you know, during the site plan, we would have plenty of buffer if, I know we're not at the site plan stage, so we can't really talk about that, but my plans are basically to use a quarter of that acre.
And also add to that, while I respect that we want to protect our senior citizens, the developers of this site for the current senior citizen home, maybe they should have thought about what are they building next to, right? They already built next to a C3.
Well, they're building next to a C1.
No, they're actually adjacent to the C3 as well, and also a
Understood, but
C1.
There's
But
a buffer to their entrance along Stearns.
and I do think that leaving it C1, it's going to be left off on its own. To combine it with the other one does make better planning for the future of what this site would be.
Could I make another comment?
Sure.
I just can't imagine what else that property would be used for. I mean, just to build anything new in Temperance would be around $300 to $400 a square foot. And current lease rates are at like $15, $16 a square foot in Temperance. It wouldn't make any sense to put up a new building there. So I feel like, we will get some economic growth off of adding those pumps and, some increased tax revenue, but that's just my thought.
Understood. I think this commission has to answer the question, at what cost? So, Barry, it looked like you had a comment.
Sure, just a few comments. First of all, of course, I do agree generally with Lucy's comments. With the master plan, the goal is always to try to have a transitional zoning. When you step down, especially as you go from a higher intensity use to a lower intensity use. So that makes perfect sense on there. In terms of the existing, there is quite a bit of grade difference too in the sites.
Yes.
Site to the others, probably.
Which would be greater too, because we have a retaining wall there, and we could,
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
sorry, Barry.
Sorry.
We do have a retaining wall there, which is getting older, so we would grade all that property up to the retaining wall.
Yeah, because I know there's about 3-4 feet.
Yeah,
And
it
after-
gradually gets to level, but we're gonna have to go up to that retaining wall.
And also, the one thing that wasn't shown on your site plan or the sketch plan, of course, we know that has no real relevance at this
Yeah.
point, because being C3, it could be any potential use. If you chose to sell the site or change the site, it could be any particular use, which is why I'm going to ask our attorney to comment glad to see he was here tonight, so just on the type of zoning that we could be looking at. But you know, it does make some concerns because you still have that drive-through behind, around the south side of your building and
Yeah, it would
the
actually.
east side of your building, and that puts an offset with the driveway coming out through your driveway, and I'm not sure combining the two sites would make.
My site on this picture doesn't show the full extent of the drive-through and where my property line ends. There's plenty more space to the south side over there.
Yeah, and the big concern would be the east side with how the potential, and again, it's a site plan issue, but how those driveways and how the traffic would interact, especially with the drive-through and coming in off Stearns and the flow-through of your existing site, unless you were planning on tearing down the existing building. However, that's not part of tonight's discussion, obviously.
Okay.
Obviously, my concerns deal with the master plan, transitional zoning, and the higher intensity use. I think the one thing I would comment on is that there are methods of dealing with it other than purely a C3 zoning, if that would be entertained. And I would ask that the attorney speak briefly to like a conditional zoning, which more or less ties the hands of an applicant, so it's not just an open C3 zone.
So it's like a special use zoning or something?
I don't know if Marty wants to comment on that, but yes, essentially a conditional zoning is where the applicant would propose something, but it would have to be based on a very specific site plan use.
Okay.
But I'm not sure I want to steer you down that course because that'd be your choice, not ours. But it would be something that, you know, essentially whoever was before us, it would more or less ties their hands on what we would zone it for, a very specific use.
Okay.
And a very specific site plan.
Is that process similar to this one?
It's very similar, except that obviously when we would approve a C3 zone, again, it would allow anything that's applicable to a C3 zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, but another type of method of zoning, which is permissible, based on request of an applicant, may be something you're worth pursuing, but I don't want to steer you down a course that is a dead end either.
Well, could I tell you guys what the other option would be? I mean, the other option would be to put the pumps on the C3 property, which in my opinion would make it a lot tighter and would make it more congested. Like the majority of the traffic would then be coming off of Lewis. And it would make it congested. The way that I proposed it, it kind of is off of the corner. So that way it, I think, helps ingress, egress. Can I walk up to that for a second? Most of our problems.
Jody, do you have some? Oh, Mr. Jindo, if you could hold on a
Can I,
second.
or no, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Jody, did you have
Just won't be
something?
able to hear you for the public, so.
All right.
We'll narrate for
I'll
you.
be quick. Most of our problems come right here when people are trying to turn left onto Stern. If this was, let's say, right here, I think it would solve all those problems.
So for those listening online, the comment from Mr. Jindo is that oh, there we go. It's good to know we have that.
All right.
Thanks, George.
Oh,
I might start singing.
So the comment was that allowing for an egress off of Stearns Road on, I guess it'd be the north side of the subject parcel, would kind of relieve some of the strain at the corner that currently is there from the.
Yeah, and it's already an existing business. Maybe it will be a little bit busier, but I can't imagine it's going to be enough to congest traffic. But like I said, we're not considering that. We're considering the rezoning, not the gas station. So I understand where you guys are coming from.
So maybe to acknowledge what Barry had thrown out about conditional zoning, I wanted to maybe pick the planning department and Marty's brain about granting conditional zoning for an existing C1 zone. Can we grant a variance or state conditions that would be against the existing zoning?
And
Is
then-
that its own zoning
I
classification?
just want to say one thing before Mr. Camprath touches base on the conditional rezoning. Keep in mind, the gas station is still a special approval use, even with I don't know how that works, so I just want to reiterate that it still requires a special approval, and that in speaking of putting it on the existing site, the pumps still would require a site plan I don't believe the site could encompass gas pumps and then requirements for parking, landscaping, and buffering, because all that would still come into play, even if it was proposed on the existing C3 piece on the corner. But I'll let
what-
Mr. Campreth speak on the portion of the conditional rezoning, because it still does require special approval.
So conditional rezoning is not a preferred direction that the township should be encouraging, in my view. And it involves, if the proposed use was a gas station, it involves rezoning the property to a C3 to match that with the permitted use of a gas station, still be subject to a special use approval, and could be constructed by a contract, which would then be a deed restriction recorded at the Register of Deeds office, that this particular parcel could only be used in the exact parameters as established by the site plan and language placed in the contract. And if the use of the property violated that contract and those restrictions, then the conditional use zoning would fall, and the property would have to revert back to its original zoning.
Is it like a deed, like a land deed?
No, it's not a deed, it's a deed restriction.
Deed restriction, yeah. Okay.
But what I'm hearing is we would still have to recommend the rezoning go through as C3, but we would.
Yes, it would be a much more involved process with drafting of contracts.
And the deed restriction would carry with the property for any
Yes.
future owners as well.
Yes.
And we still would have to go through like the special use and with the road commission and everything, so a lot of that stuff can get addressed on. Like, you know, when it comes to buffers or, you know, the ingress, egress, like there's still a lot of steps.
Keep in mind, that's not what we're entertaining tonight. We are
Yeah.
just looking at the straightforward C3 rezoning for the property.
Yeah, again, I have to point to our ordinance and all the permitted uses for a C3 zone. If you do want to put gas pumps under the existing C3 zoned property on the corner, you could do so with special approval from the planning commission.
Just,
It would be special approval and an amended site plan to still meet all the requirements of
Correct.
the ordinance.
That is a venue should this,
and road commission, correct?
It would go back to the road commission and the drain commission, because you would be increasing and making a change on the site.
I'm trying to get a new curb cut as well, right?
Well, that would, you
Well-
would have to determine that from the requirements of the ordinance and what the road commission would require through the site plan process.
but I guess what I'm just trying to make sure you're aware of, Mr. Jindo, is if this rezoning request, if we don't make a suggestion to the township board to approve this, there is a venue or an avenue for which you can still achieve some of this purpose, but it's going to go through the same process that we're about to have for item 7B, which is site plan approval, review by all the appropriate parties in Monroe County, and so on. So that's an avenue, if that's an option you're entertaining.
Okay.
So any other commission comments on the rezoning specifically, the request to rezone to C3?
I've got a couple notes here, Chair. I'd try to keep them in order here to make them make sense, but I will say I do agree with Ms. Fortin's recommendations here in support of the master plan. You know, we did just develop this document, and it does provide a transitional zoning to step it down. I guess I don't know the history of this parcel, of why it's carved out essentially of what's there for vibrant life in the residential. I'm sure there's something we don't remember of what happened there, but this corridor intersection has been a hot topic. I mean, we've had several over the years now requests to add additional commercial, change the commercial across the street, and one of the things that comes to mind that we've always had in that discussion is there is plenty of sufficient vacant commercial property in this area on the Lewis corridor that's already zoned for most of these requests. And that's something we've always hung our hat on previously, is that the property's there, it can be developed, it just might not be on that side of the road that you want it to be on necessarily. In addition to that, the parking was already hit on for the existing, and the site plan approval, that was something I had in my notes too, of changing that site plan for the existing building that is C3 is going to require the new approval process and the special approval, and parking's already tight there. The traffic, if you've ever been there at a busy time, is already tough to navigate, so I just can't personally imagine gas pumps fitting there, and it's still meeting all the parking requirements and traffic flow for that parcel. And we did hit on this a little bit. I did want to bring it up though, environmental. I don't know, have you done any environmental studies on this property, Mr. Jindo, to see what the
Not yet. It's
impacts
never
would
had a
be?
use, so until I figure out what I want to do with it, that's kind of unnecessary. But I can't imagine there's any contamination on that site.
More wetlands. It's low lying.
No, there's no wetlands on it. No.
Okay, it's definitely something through the site plan process for development will have to be, engineer will have to go through and make that determination with their folks. But, and again, I'm going to go back to one last item here. Just, we can't take any specific use into consideration when making this rezoning. Going to C3 opens it up to 15, 20 more options that can be put there versus a C1, and we can't say, definitively what's going to happen on this parcel by going to C3. We have to leave it open. So I think I've kind of made my point on where I stand.
Thanks, Kyle.
I'll just make one more point. Vibrant living, I think it's a fair that, that we want buffering, but if they felt it was sufficient to create that buffering for their residents, they could have bought the property themselves and rezoned it, right? So we got to keep that in mind as well. And the property was already zoned commercial when they developed that. So I'm just putting that out there, guys. And then again, we can't talk about what's going to go in there. We're simply focused on should it be C3 or not. My personal opinion is combining these two to be one C3 property makes a lot of sense from a planning outcome, rather than having a lot that's sitting out there vacant because it's just zoned goofy and doesn't fit with anything in the other area. I think it does match the existing surrounding commercial zoning, and I think that's why it should be C3.
Could I also make a comment? If you pull up the actual zoning of that area, that living center is surrounded by C3. From, Lewis Road to me to... Can you see the zoning on that? I was talking about on the
Jody.
report, they had it all in red. That's fine.
PDF page 6 of your packet, part 2.
But if you look at that, the C3 surrounds that center.
So, in general, if you look at the opposite corner, I guess the southwest corner, you see C3 on the corner, C1, and as we move away from the corner, we have this transition from heavy commercial use, moderate commercial, general commercial, to residential. And in general, that's what our master plan guides us to do. And you see the same on the northwest corner, C2 to C1 to multifamily residential. And so that's where the argument about, in this case, going from a C3 to a C3 to a multifamily residential, it doesn't even match the adjacent parcels on this corner, let alone, what's guided by the master plan. So I think that's where that argument's coming from. Craig or Jacob, anything to say, or anyone that's already spoken have anything to add?
I don't have any organized thoughts. I think a lot of stuff in this gig is very black and white and very easy. I believe, in my time being up on these boards, I think this kind of stuff is the hardest things for me to make decisions on because I think there is so much gray, and I can see a lot of both sides. I don't know if it's there's just so much with that parcel. That is kind of, I guess, irrelevant, but the drop off, just everything about that parcel is, it's surprising to me that it is almost like that. Not that it's buildable, but kind of I feel like there's got to be a lot to go. But I guess that's irrelevant what we're talking about. But I think my sticking point is to Ms. Fortin's point of the exacerbating the traffic congestion there. We had across the street not that long ago talking about those parcels across the street on Stearns that they were looking to do increased for residential, and it's just such a bad area. And I get your point of can you get that curb a little further off and to me that's a compelling argument. It really is. but I
think it'll
don't.
make it better,
But,
honestly.
well, and that's, I don't know if I'm convinced, but it's compelling. It is and it's worth considering that would that make it better being able to get the exit further from Lewis Ave? But yeah, I'm.
If I had my choice, I would do it now, even without the pumps, just to make it easier for
be able
people
to
turn out.
move that off. Now, where are you saying you would put pumps on your C3?
I have a, like,
You would squeeze pumps into your current property?
oh, on the C3?
Yeah.
I haven't, let me take my mic. We haven't really worked that out with the architect yet, but right there.
And keep in mind,
And have parking here.
Okay,
keep in mind,
That to me is not optimal.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the other way is 100 times better. And I'm not sure if we can get this approved. Like Jody said, there's a lot of.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons from the site plan aspect.
To begin with, I mean, we still have to go through plenty of site plan.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
I think for the sake of productive discussion, let's take the
Yep.
addition of gas pumps on the existing C3 zone property on the corner, and let's put a pin in that.
Yep.
Because we'll have the opportunity to talk plenty about that if that's what
Yeah,
happens.
we'll have to go through.
Let's focus our attention on the existing C1 zone property. The request is to rezone that to C3. So Craig, to your point about, a curb cut moved further east, I'm with you. I think there's a lot that can happen in the interim. So we could rezone this to C3 and then the plans could fall through or the financing could fall through. And then we just add a curb cut on a C3 zoned property on this current subject parcel that is not relieving traffic, but adding to traffic flow. So it's not a guarantee that this property gets developed exactly like your sketch had shown. So
Absolutely.
obviously,
We haven't been through that process yet.
right. So there's a lot of questions up in the air, and I do appreciate that that's the intent or that's the desire to help improve traffic flow, but there's
Can I-
also a lot of unknowns.
What if we split the property and made half the property C3, half the property C1? And merged the C3 with the other C3? Would that be something that we could do?
Well, I think as was stated by Jake earlier, your uses permitted by C3 his argument was they're already intense enough that 1 acre is not quite enough. So if you reduce it to a half acre lot, I don't even know.
Well,
what
I think what
'cause all
he's
I need-
saying is if it's a C1 and a C3 to join the two properties so he could get the egress that he's looking for. Now, I'm going to defer to legal because that would create a split zone property, and I don't think we want to do that in our township. It creates a lot of conflict. But I think that's what he's proposing, which I don't think we want to go down that road, and I'll defer to legal on that. But
I guess I heard you as you want to split this C1 zone property into two properties, each a half acre.
Basically, and then.
The
well,
one closer
and
to
then
the
take
corner.
the C3, yeah, the closer side to the corner, merge it with the other property.
So he'd have a corner lot that is C3 abutting a half acre C1.
Yeah,
which
basically
abuts
the C3
residential.
would gain a quarter acre.
And I guess at that point, we have a 1 acre C1 zone property that is the subject parcel. We would now have a half acre C1 zoned.
I mean, if that,
You do start to what are you gonna do with a half acre C1 zone property?
donate it, I'll donate it to the Living Center if I don't have any use for it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be,
They can
I
have
like,
like an outdoor-
I like the idea, but what if something happens in your personal
I
life
mean,
and
if I
you
could
have
make
to
a
sell it?
commitment, if I could make a commitment to it today, I would, but I know that that's not
Right.
gonna hold.
There's unfortunately too many questions to
Yeah.
honor that commitment. But, so those are the types of things, as a commission, we need to consider. I mean, I think it's a good idea to throw out there. We just have, we gotta think through the actuality of all that.
Do you have any thoughts, Jake?
Jacob, any thoughts?
Not any that I can formulate into something verbally yet.
Well, we are moving towards likely a motion, so does anyone else have any thoughts that they want to put out for consideration by the rest of this commission before we?
I mean, I agree with Craig and Jake on it. There's a lot going on with this parcel. It kind of sounds to me like even if we don't approve it, Mr. Jindo, you're probably going to do it anyways to figure it out.
I'm gonna try pursuing it, but that doesn't guarantee anything. What would
Right.
be easier is just having this C3 today to make it a lot cleaner.
Right. Well, I mean, and keep in mind, we're making the recommendation,
Yeah.
not approving it today.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. How does that work? I thought it was voted on today.
So we,
The only recommendation goes to the township board, makes the final decision
Oh,
on the
okay.
rezoning.
That makes sense.
so all we're doing is recommending to the board that you should or should not rezone this property. The board can decide to do with our advice whatever they want.
Okay.
And generally, they tend to honor it, I'd say, Craig. But
Yeah.
they'll have their own opportunity for
Not
discussion.
not necessarily.
So,
I could make a motion, we'll see how it flies for the group. I'll make a motion, we approve it. And the reasons for is it matches existing surrounding commercial zoning, prevents inappropriate residential intrusion into a commercial corridor, traffic impact is low due to pass-by nature and shared access, parcel consolidation improves the planning outcomes, C1 does not allow reasonable modern uses for the site, proposed uses create less impact than many other C3 uses already allowed nearby. The master plan is a guide. The corridor's reality is commercial. And then site plan review, not zoning, addresses every technical concern raised so far.
okay. Do we have a second for that? I'm sorry, go ahead, Marty.
I just take note for everybody sitting here that according to the bylaws, just so you know, when you make a motion to approve an action like this, and if it does not get 4 affirmative votes, the matter fails. And it is dispositive of the issue, which means it really matures into a no vote.
So
Before you move forward, just so you know that,
before we proceed with a second to Jake's motion, what we're saying is we
just so you
might
know.
want to entertain a motion to approve or recommend approval of this, an
Well,
affirmative.
that's the other way to look at it, and you need 4 votes. And that would be dispositive, whether if the positive motion fails to get 4 votes, then that is open for a new motion.
Yeah, so we have to entertain this
So
motion.
just so you know, when you're making a motion like this, that
And we're
has
not,
consequences if the vote goes.
at this point, we're not approving anything, we're
That's right.
recommending.
It is just a mere recommendation.
We can pass along.
All of these discussions and ideas and thoughts and rationale is going to go in the record and be moved up to the township board for consideration.
But we can pass along a motion to approve, even if it gets denial by this commission, basically.
I don't understand that.
So Jake's motion is to approve the recommendation to rezone. If this commission votes, we don't want that, nay.
If there's less than 4 votes.
He's just saying you need 4 votes.
You need 4 votes, and if there are not 4 votes, that means, according to your bylaws, that that's a denial of the action and it's dispositive of the issue.
So if I can summarize that better, we don't have to have a new motion to vote no after that. It's an
That's
automatic
correct.
no if we do not vote yes. That's the simplest way to explain it.
That's correct.
Okay. Which is how BZA operates. If it does not pass, it's a no automatically. You don't have to have a new motion to deny.
And this is all because you need a supermajority of 4 to approve such a thing.
We're making a recommendation which adds a variable to this. So Craig, whatever goes through, just take this back to the board and make sure they understand what's going on.
You can always support a motion that you're not going to vote for. That is also an uncommon thing that can happen. So it can always get support to go to a vote, even if you don't intend to vote affirmative.
Well, let's see. Does anyone second Jake's motion to approve the recommendation to rezone to C3? Is there any support? Because if there's not support, we need a motion to the contrary. Unless Jody has something else to say.
They need to, is it motion That fails.
Yep, motion failed.
All right,
The motion would die for lack of support, then the floor is open for a new different motion.
any support? No support, the motion's failed. Looking for a motion to the contrary. Or any motion.
I would make a motion that we deny the C3 zoning based on the master plan, recommendations from the township planner, the need for the beneficial of some sort of transitional zoning under good planning procedures. I guess that's pretty much it.
I would like to, Marty's got me already. We need to make a motion to recommend denial to the township board
Yes,
for the
right.
request to rezone this parcel from C1 to C3.
Yep.
So with that, I will support for the same reasons of the analysis from Ms. Fortin, which I think summarizes kind of a lot of the discussion we had. So I will be supporting.
Friendly amendment to include Ms. Fortin's 5 points in that motion and in the recommendation.
I support if you support.
Can we be
Friendly
clear?
amendment, yes, I recommend that.
And just for execution of this motion, do we need to be clear on what those 5 points are? Do we need to recite the 5 points listed in this packet?
Just say by reference, and we'll make sure they're listed in there for the township board.
So what Craig was referring to by reference are the 5 bullets that are on packet page 1.
Which should I read that for the
No, they're,
viewer?
they said we're good. We've covered it, we've read it, or Jody has read it. So Barry, you're good with that, and Kyle, you're good with those amendments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Trombley, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Bushman. Aye. Mr. Dersch.
Aye.
Mr. Montry.
Aye.
Mr. Lake. No. Trombley is aye, and Mr. Andrews.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you.
Jindal.
And just, I heard some people making comments like, I'm not part of the community or whatnot. I just want to clear that up. I've been in this community for over 15 years. All of my businesses are in this community. We sponsor pretty much every football team, basketball team, robotics, whatever. So we are very involved in this community.
Well, thank you. for
Thank
your
you.
time. Appreciate
Chair,
that.
before the applicant leaves, I'm going to request this to be on the township board meeting agenda for March 3rd.
So-
The first one is a Tuesday night, the first meeting in March. First one, they meet next Tuesday. I don't meet the deadline to get it on for next Tuesday.
Okay.
So just so you make sure you're available to attend that meeting.
No problem. I appreciate it,
Okay,
Jody.
yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mr. Jindal. All right. Thanks, everyone, for that discussion. We're going to move on to item 7B. This is also a public hearing, so we're going to follow a similar procedure. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing for item 7B. It is 7:54 p.m. And the public hearing is in regards to the request from TX Toledo LLC, 661 East Lakewood Boulevard in Holland, Michigan, 49424. Representative Niederveld, Inc., for final site plan approval and special approval for an auto wash on vacant parcel located on the south side of Stearns Road, east of Secor Road, parcel number 5802-032-055-66. Jody, could you summarize this request before we hear from the applicant and the public?
Yes. Vacant, again, the applicant is Tommy's Express. Applicant is TX Toledo LLC. Mandy Brower, and I believe that there is another applicant available tonight, Ethan Mao, that is from TX Toledo as well. The owner is TX Lambertville LLC, and the engineer is Niederveld Steve Witt. C3 zoned, final site plan and special approval for a car wash, 5802-032-055-66. I'm going to do my best to quickly get through this. It's very lengthy. I'm just going to kind of give a characteristics, the zoning, and the site description, and then I'm going to refer to, we can go through each section as we move forward, and then I'll read the summary at the end. The vacant subject parcel is 1.402 acres located on the south side of Stearns Road, east of Secor Road. The parcel has 100 feet of road frontage on Stearns Road and the existing recorded easement access on the west side of the property for Burger King. An existing shared detention pond previously approved and recorded on 9/16/2019. The master plan designates this parcel as neighborhood business. The properties to the south, Tractor Supply, east, Lambertville Veterinarian Clinic, and west, the vacant veterinarian clinic, multi-unit building, and Burger King are all Zone C3 general commercial. And the north side of Stearns Road is Zone C2. Shopping center where Walgreens, Huntington Bank, and Taco Bell are located. Per section 41303 C3 general business, an auto wash is a principal use permitted subject to special approval. Number 3A and B requirements. The applicant is proposing a 5,315 square foot building that will provide for a 3-lane drive-through car wash tapering down to 1 lane to the structure. The car wash entrance provides an escape lane on the east side of the drive-through. I'm going to go, sorry. Where's visual, sorry. Drive-through before entering the structure. The site plan shows a total of 13 vacuum spaces proposed, 5 located to the east of the building and 8 located on the east side of the property. The enclosed dumpster is proposed on the south side of the property to be enclosed with an 8-foot tall block wall with a composite decking gate. While the proposed use is within a completely enclosed building and the vacuum stations are not abutting a residential district on the same side of the street, B states, development of the site shall be in accordance with section 419-16, minimum requirements for open air, 1 through 5, and the proposed site meets the requirements of section 19 except for number 3. There shall be provided on all sides of the site except an entrance and exits and along sides of the premises enclosed by buildings, a fence or a wall 5 feet in height in order to intercept wind-blown trash and other debris. Therefore, a fence shall be installed along the south side and east side of the property to comply with the ordinance. Applicant shall advise as no fence is shown on the submitted plan. Building and setbacks and height requirements, Planning Commission has reviewed and they meet the ordinance intent. Storm drainage is the previous shared detention pond. Site access, they are still working with. The Monroe County Road Commission has approved the site plan with contingencies via email from Matt Snell. The Road Commission will ensure all contingencies from the Road Commission will be satisfied prior to issuance of any permits from their office, and it shall be noted, a recorded easement agreement was requested by the Planning Department that the property owner, TX Lambertville LLC, provide language granting approval for site work and access improvements as shown on the submitted site plan for access off Stearns Road. Easement agreement shall include the existing Burger King easement property owned by Bennett Properties from Maumee, Ohio, and the additional property owned by TX Lambertville, and to be utilized with ingress-egress from Stearns Road and to the proposed use owned by TX Lambertville. Loading and unloading, there is no defined unloading and unloading area on the submitted site plan. However, per section 41906B, commercial districts and commercial uses in other districts, building gross floor area 2,000 to 5,000 requires one 10-foot by 30-foot space. The applicant shall verify the gross floor area and the types of delivery for the location. And per 41906.5, the Planning Commission may, where deemed necessary, require directional signage designated for loading and unloading. I'm not sure if this site actually uses the 10-foot by 30 is designed for more of a semi-truck delivery. I'm not sure if they just use the box truck deliveries, but I would encourage a designated area for loading and unloading. Parking standards meet the requirements. Landscaping and screening, I believe from my notes you can read. I'm going to skip over the rest in summary. Approvals have been received from the Bedford Township Fire Department, 9/12/2025, the Monroe County Drain Commission, 1/27/26, Monroe County Drain Commission regarding soil erosion sedimentation, 1/2/2026, and we did provide the updated email of 1/27/26, and then the email from the Monroe County Road Commission, 1/14/2026, and the Mannequin Smith Group, 12/18/2025. Should special approval and final site plan approval be granted, the following shall be considered. Please include that language in any motion. That is the requirements for a special approval use. And then all conditioned upon addressing all the comments and conditions in the reviewing agencies prior to construction from the Mannequin Smith, Monroe County Drain Commission, Soil Erosion and Sedimentation Control, Bedford Township Fire Department, and the Monroe County Road Commission. Also, a signed and recorded easement agreement that the property owner, TX Lambertville, provide language granting approval for site work and access improvements as shown on the submitted plan for access off Stearns Road. The easement agreement shall include the existing Burger King easement property owned by Bennett Manning Properties and the additional property owned by TX Lambertville to be utilized with ingress egress from Stearns Road and to the property owned by TX Lambertville for the entrance. Per section 419.16, number 3, there shall be provided around all sides of the site except the entrances, the additional height of the fence. All signage will be submitted and reviewed and approved by the planning department and shall meet the requirements of Bedford Township sign ordinance, or a variance shall be sought. Lighting shall comply with the Bedford Township ordinance, and specific details of the type of fixtures being proposed and a rendering and wall-mounted lights as presented on the site plan shall be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. Any sidewalks removed or damaged during construction shall be repaired and reinstalled as required by ordinance as shown on the site plan. And just for reference for the commission real quick, this area right here, from this line over is what is existing on the easement. This gray area here is still owned by Burger King to be included in the new easement agreement. And then you'll see this area here is going to be where, when you come out the additional right turn lane out, area is owned by TX Lambertville. So that easement should be amended because there is more than one site that utilizes the ingress egress. And they are working with Burger King and the property maintenance manager there for the amendments in that agreement. That is all I have, unless anyone has any questions about any additional of the analysis that I did not read.
I'm sure there will be questions.
I do have one question. Are we making one motion for special approval and final site plan, or are we doing that as two separate motions?
It should be two motions. The special approval is subject to approval of the site plan. So the site plan, either one can happen first, but if you do special approval, it's going to be subject to all the conditions that Jody cited and just listed off, in addition to satisfaction of those conditions and approval of the site plan. So it's conditioned upon approval of the site plan. If you approve special use, but the site plan doesn't get approved, then the special use is not approved because it's conditioned on it.
I'll ask a question too for clarification. The special use approval is subject to that paragraph on the 3rd page of the recommendation. That's the considerations in giving the special use approval.
Not necessarily. Those are suggested conditions that Jody has put together by reviewing the site plan. The conditions that you need to be aware of, I don't know if I think she did print them, is the paragraph above the conditions.
Okay, that's what I was referring to, that
Yes,
top paragraph.
above,
is
yes.
the special use section.
And you should make a finding of fact that all of those conditions are satisfied or not satisfied, and put that in the minutes and discussion of your meeting.
Okay.
Just so everyone's clear, those conditions for the special approval are, we have to determine this request is not injurious to the district and environs, is not contrary to the spirit and purpose of this ordinance, is not incompatible with existing uses in the area, will not interfere with the orderly development of the area, it would not be detrimental to the safety or convenience of vehicular or pedestrian traffic, and will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services, and will be consistent in assuring that the general public health, safety, and welfare will not be infringed upon, and will be in compliance with township, county, state, and federal laws and regulations. So that's what we are going to weigh as it relates to the special approval of the site plan. So, thank you. Applicant, if you don't mind just stepping forward, I guess at this point, before we hear from the public, we just want to know if there's anything that was missed in this presentation by Jody, and want to inform you we're one member short, just to ask if you want to defer to a later meeting or proceed with this analysis.
Certainly. Commissioners, my name is Steve Whitty from Netterveld, or the design engineer. With me in attendance is Ethan Mao from Tommy's Express. I assume you don't want me to give my presentation yet, so I won't do that. We're perfectly fine with proceeding with 6 people on the planning commission tonight, and then I think Jody did a great job in her summary of it. The only thing that I would mention, 2 things. She had mentioned delivery spaces. We can talk about this later too, but Tommy's really doesn't have any large vehicles coming there, so none of the sites that I've designed have a bigger delivery space, but if we need to provide one, we can. And then the other thing, just as a question is, and it's not a make or break deal by any means, but Jody had mentioned having a 5-foot tall fence on the south and the east side of the property, I think because it's deemed an open air business. We can definitely add that. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that personally, but not a big deal. I'll point out the fact that in the same district, just a couple lots to the south of us is an existing car wash. They don't have any fencing. They have vacuumed right on the property line. So that's the only thing that I guess I heard that I kind of wanted planning commission input on, but I'll stop there and give a better presentation after the public has commented.
Sure,
Thank you.
Mr. Whitty, appreciate that. All right, this time I want to open this up to the public. Does anyone want to speak on this issue? Ms. Keene, if you could just introduce yourself again.
I wore out this.
You already did it, that's fine.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
That's fine.
Okay, Gail Kane Temperance. I got stuff all over the place on this one, people. It's ugly. To start with, the first thing, I made a special trip up to planning. Jody pulled out the packet, and it's ugly. It's just plain god-awful ugly. It's too bright. That is not the DDA district. And if I understand correctly, now, do I get to talk to the site plan and to the special request, or I just need to say it all now?
Yeah, both are.
So it would be to the east of that. Is that where Hampton is?
Hampton is to the east.
Okay, so there you've got a facility there, people, that we have to respect. The other car wash doesn't have that, I don't believe. I think there's a bit of a buffer zone from what I'm getting off of what Jody gave me. The issues I have with this, and yes, I know, the easement and curb cuts are better than what could be with separate. And yes, I've been here for 50-plus years, so I remember the Angus and I miss them. The problem that I have is I went and sat there. I actually forced myself to eat Burger King, and I don't go over to the DDA district unless I have to. But I felt I needed to go over and park, so I did. I come in off of Stearns, and I went all the way back to the end of Tractor Supply, and I parked. And what I saw was frightening. You have the car wash already that's there. They have people coming off of Secor, coming in and around, and they go out into the machine, get washed, come back, and they go to all their little sweepers. Well, I wasn't trying to listen to how much racket that was, but they were coming in there. Now, some of them would turn and come back out and go through Tractor Supply. Some of them would make another U-turn and go out the other direction to head back out to Secor Road. In the meantime, you have what humans tend to do over in the DDA to avoid the intersection is take a shortcut through any driveway they can get their car through, and this is one of them. So we had cars coming in and going past the pumps and going into Tractor Supply, and some of them driving straight through right out onto Stearns Road. That's a traffic hazard right there. You have Rite Aid. Mr. Jindo owns Mr. Rite Aid. He has a variance that he got for that property that he has until March before it will expire. The lot has not been plowed. The driveway entrance out of the Rite Aid to the Tractor Supply section is plugged with a pile of snow because that's where everybody else dumped their snow. So from Secor, there were still people coming in through that. There were people trying to come in through Stearns, such as me, to go through Burger King. You had people coming in from Secor Road into Burger King, over to Tractor Supply. So that easement is a hazard. It is shocking, the number of vehicles that are coming and going every which way but loose. Then you have the people at Tractor Supply trying to exit. They're going to Stearns. They were going back to the car wash to sneak back through past the pumps. Now, I'm not certain how all of this, and we've got an urgent care in the one corner, and Tropicana and Arby's doesn't have enough parking up there to start with, and they have a drive-through. But you also had people coming out of the coffee shop across Tim Hortons, coming out to turn south, making a U-turn in the turn lane in order to get themselves back over because there's the 4 lanes plus the turn lane. I don't understand how all that traffic is going to tie into Stearns, which doesn't have 5 lanes. It does not. And they keep putting this stuff at the corners. This is where your merge lanes are. This is where your turning lanes are. And you've got cars coming and going every which way but loose. All I'm saying is that I agree with Jody, it's better to merge these driveways, but they don't have permission yet from Burger King. And that driveway itself is bad. I tend to shortcut off of Secor through the backside of Walgreens, out the Fifth Third and Taco Bell in order to shortcut that intersection. And I need that turn lane to get freely out onto the road and to head back over to the east side of the township. So I'm really not going to be happy to be dealing with cars wanting to get their cars washed. But the question I have is, where are they getting their water? Suddenly we've gone from Dollar Generals to having nothing but car washes.
Thanks, Ms. Keene.
I'd like to know where they get their water.
Thank you.
That's the impact.
Appreciate that. All right, anyone else from the public? Would you like to come up and speak?
Don Shepherd, Lambertville. She's much better than I am. I believe this proposed wash would be our 4th in town now. Tommy's also has a location in Toledo on Monroe Street, just a short drive from Bedford. There are washes on Werner's Corner, Alexis and Douglas, Lewis and Alexis, and Secor and Lasky. Not only does this contribute to the number of washes in the area, but the sole function of these businesses increase traffic counts. This community doesn't have the infrastructure to support additional traffic from non-residents, especially in that short leg of Stearns Road where it abruptly turns back to residential homes after Taco Bell. I understand that the board cannot prevent businesses from moving into authorized location, but I would question what the outlook is for the town and how we foster a safer community. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Shepherd. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Come on up. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Rihanna Kratzman, Lambertville. Okay, so hi, my name is Rihanna Kratzman. I'm the site manager at Clean Express Auto Wash on 7326 Secor Road. The proposed build of an auto wash is approximately 3 land parcels north of our current establishment, even accessible without accessing the main road, but by using easements in an adjacent parking lot. Clean Express has operated in the Lambertville location for almost 3 years now. We are members of the chamber. We have excellent customer reviews on Google and through our interior customer satisfaction surveys. Lambertville is a town of just about 10,000 people. We don't feel like another car wash in such proximity could benefit the city and its residents. As a business, we have a significant investment in this location. It is our mission to maintain financial stability so that we can continue to support the community. Being in the same field as the proposed site plan, we do not see a future sustained viability. I have been with EWC for almost 10 years. We offer excellent hourly wages. We also incentivize all site leadership and monthly profit share opportunities. We share all of that success with all of our employees. Through our EWC Cares grant program, we give back to local nonprofits annually. Our team, we live, we work, and we play here. We hope to continue to do that for many years to come, and ask for the committee's support in denying this.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll invite the applicant back up, or the representative for the applicant.
Close the public hearing?
Yeah, good idea. Let's close this public hearing. It's 8:14 p.m. Thank you. All right, so you said you had prepared something to share.
Certainly. Commissioners, again, for the record, my name is Steve Whitty from Netterveld. Again, thank you for your time and consideration regarding this request, especially thank you to township staff. They've been great to work with. A little bit of background here. Tommy's Express is a family-owned business. They're based out of Holland, Michigan, but they have car washes throughout the state of Michigan. But then they have franchise holders, so they're actually Tommy's Express car washes throughout the country as well. Tommy's is currently under construction in Ludington, Fremont, and Lowell. And then we're in the process of getting approvals from Traverse City. We just got approval from Owasso, actually Caledonia Township, which is right in Owasso, Michigan, and then obviously here in Lambertville. Tommy's Express actually started this process back in 2022. They actually started the process, submitted it to the agencies, got some comments back. They purchased the property, but then they sat on it because they had other locations that they were developing at the time, so they kind of put a timeout on this location for a couple of years, but then they decided to pick this back up about 3 or 4 months ago, and then we've been working with the township staff, with the county, Drain Commission, the Road Commission, and getting to this point here. Just a couple of brief things. As far as the use of the property, what is proposed is, again, a 5,315 square foot automatic tunnel car wash. From an access standpoint, we're utilizing the existing shared drive that is off of Stearns Road. When we started this process, we were actually proposing a new driveway off of Stearns, but the township and the road commission said, no, you need to use the existing drive. I'll point out that existing driveway has an existing easement on it, so that's nothing we are creating. Going through the approval process, though, a traffic study was required, so that was done, completed, reviewed by the township engineer and the road commission. So that has been done. The outcome on the design on that is the road commission is asking or requiring us to modify that existing driveway off of Stearns, widening it out to provide 2 exit lanes and 1 entrance lane. So that's what you see on the plan in front of us. We are fully aware that we need to work with Burger King and amend that existing easement. My understanding is the biggest holdup there is the maintenance side of it. So Tommy's will, modify that with Burger King to make sure that the maintenance of not only the drive entrance, but the drive itself is properly maintained. If you've driven out there recently, there's a couple of fairly large potholes that need to be repaired there. So that'll all be fixed and worked out. Internal to the site, the circulation to the site, there are 3 pay lanes to the west of the building. So the traffic would be going counterclockwise to the west of the building and then exiting on the north side of the building. And then we have vacuum spaces to the east of the building, and then an exit back out to that shared drive on the south side of the site. There's a total of 30 parking spaces provided, 13 of those being vacuum spaces. We have stacking for 27 vehicles, which is more than sufficient for our use. From a utility standpoint, we're connecting to public sanitary sewer and water main. One thing to note is Tommy's Express you have a water reclaim system. So typically either sites have a 2-inch water service or a 4-inch water service, but with that water reclaim system, the water usage really isn't as high as you might think it is. And as was indicated before, their regional stormwater detention is provided for the rainwater. There's a 15-inch storm lead at the southeast corner of our site that we're connecting to. The landscaping that is provided is per the ordinance. I realize beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I know one of the public commented that they did not like the appearance of the building. Most communities actually like the appearance of the building, the vibrancy of that. The building itself is primarily windows, split-face CMU block, and metal. I think architectural drawings are sometimes hard to interpret, so we did submit the photo of an existing site. I think this one is in Hudsonville, which is similar appearance. The only difference to what's proposed and what's on the screen there is what's on the screen there has a canopy over all 3 pay lanes, if you look at that, or if you see that, and then this use would only have one over the pay lane that's closest to the building. As far as, again, I mentioned Jody's comment about having a 5-foot tall fence on the south and the east side of the site. That's perfectly fine with us if it's required, but we'd like a little bit more discussion with that. Delivery space is no big deal there either way. As I mentioned, we are working with Burger King to update that utility easement. Then I'll point out too that this is a very auto-centric area. I was actually somewhat surprised that, just at that corner of Secor and Stearns, you have a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Tim Hortons, a Taco Bell, a Burger King, and an Arby's right there. Along those same lines, another member or neighbor had indicated that there's an existing car wash there. We're fully aware of that. Tommy's is investing a significant amount of money in this location. There is, in our opinion, a need for additional car washes. And just because there is 1 car wash or 2 car washes in a community or any use, this is America. So that doesn't mean that another business with that same use can't come into this area. And I'll point out again, at this corner, there's McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Arby's, Burger King, Tim Hortons. They're all food places. So while you may think a car wash is a car wash, that's not entirely true. Different car washes have different features, have different customer loyalty programs. So it's a different product, even though it all gives you the same purpose, similar to like you can get a burger from McDonald's, you can get a burger from Wendy's, you can get a burger from Burger King, and I think you can even get a burger from Arby's now. So we want to give people in the area the option of what car wash they want to visit. So that being said, I really appreciate your time and consideration on this tonight. If you have any questions on the engineering, site plan, or kind of the history of the design, I'd be more than happy to answer any types of those questions. If you have any questions on the business side of that, Ethan could definitely help you out there. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you don't mind, we'll just keep you up here so
Sure.
we can bounce into questions and answers. So anyone from the commission, Jake, you want to?
Yeah, just one question. Maybe this is more for the planning commission or the planning people, planning folks. The fencing for the site, I've been through a lot of these and I don't remember hearing about fencing requirements. So maybe some clarification on that would be helpful.
I think the intent is because of the fact when the area is not from an enclosed where it says for ingress egress, that it doesn't have to require the fencing. I believe normally the vacuums and where people would clean out their vehicles, it's to keep the trash from blowing onto the neighboring property, to keep it confined into the site where the car wash is located. And it's the open air, but I believe that it's more for debris to keep it confined to the area and not be going into the neighboring property. That's why it requires either a wall or a type of fence to keep it within the site. But that is discussion from the commission.
And on that item specifically as it relates to the other car wash.
The other car
There is
washes, their vacuums abut the ingress egress to Tractor Supply. They have an easement to Tractor Supply. Their vacuums are on that north side of their building, so they weren't required the fencing on that side because it does abut an ingress egress. Same would be here. We would not require it on the west side of the property. It would be required on the east side where mainly because it's usually the vacuums are within the site, and that's probably why the ordinance says to keep debris in that within the site to avoid it going on to the neighboring properties.
Thank you for the clarification.
I guess on that topic, we'll stay with fencing. The statement about abutting an ingress egress, the south side of the site, you've got what's labeled on this site plan, you have an escape lane, basically if you want to get out of line. It looks like you can cut the corner to the right and then make your way back to that easement area with a separate drive. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I would say on the south side here with the fencing, I believe they have curbing there. So, I mean, that would be a discussion, and there's no vacuums on this side. My more concern from a planning aspect would be the east side abutting the veterinarian clinic.
Just the east side.
To keep the debris within their own site.
Okay.
The south side abuts the parking lot, and I believe you do have curbing there,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And it abuts Tractor Supply's parking lot area.
Understood. Thank you.
And then I will say regarding the loading and unloading that I brought up, I'm not opposed of the commission taking into consideration the size of the 10-foot by 30-foot. I don't believe that's what the intent of the use is here. However, they do have loading doors here, so maybe the commission could look at requiring. My concern is this is a shared drive. We want to make sure this is never blocked off, no trucks parking here. That to keep it within the site, but also we want to make sure that parking isn't interfering with the flow of traffic on site either. So maybe a directional signage in one of these parking spaces that are located on the southeast side of the building be designated for loading and unloading, just so when a truck does come, it does have a specific location. Cars will then tend not to park there. They have sufficient enough parking for cars to come in and out. So that's all I would encourage is the commission to dedicate a signage for a loading and unloading, just to prevent anyone parking here and blocking anything, to keep the flow of traffic. You know, if I come out of the car wash and I want to vacuum, you don't want the box truck sitting in the parking lot there, to make sure it has a designated parking spot. And they may regulate when they can have loading and unloading.
So maybe there's a broader discussion to be had here, just understanding your intent. You're going to have two entrances to the car wash. The main entrance will be from the easement area off of Stearns, but then you have a secondary entrance at the rear, basically, on the west side of the site. So is the intent to have, I guess, what's the intended flow through the site? Like, for example, normal flow, you're going to go into the car wash. So you're going to pull in off Stearns Road and you're going to just enter one of the 3 lanes and be guided through the car wash. But are your vacuums, like, for example, the Clean Express Wash has free vacuums for use. And so users can enter the lot, but instead of proceeding to the right to the car wash, they can go to the left to the vacuums. Is that going to be the same case here?
They do have free vacuums. They talked about that a little bit on starting to charge them, but they're all free right now. And then the normal traffic pattern that I would see is a vehicle would enter off of Stearns Road, turn to right away into the site, head south in the pay lanes, head back north through the building, and then if they want to vacuum, they'll turn right, park in a vacuum spot, get their vacuums, and they'll actually go out the southern drive is how most people will do that. And the reason for that is because, like, I put myself, if I were using the site, that's what I would do, just because I wouldn't want to exit the site so close to Stearns. I'd want to try to get away from that in case if there's a car or 2 or 3 backed up at Stearns, I can get in the queue versus fighting somebody to get out when it's busy.
And I would say the preferred, because we did site plan approval for Clean Express a few years ago. So I recall this whole process and discussion about normal flow path versus reality. So there are cases at that auto wash where people just go to the vacuum because it's free. So is that
could happen.
You're going to advertise free vacuums, I guess is what I'm saying, because the reality is you're going to have people coming in off Stearns Road and turning left, and
Correct.
there could be some conflict.
We understand that. So the drive north of the building is wide enough for 2-way traffic. So
Okay.
it's not like a requirement that you have to take the path that I mentioned. But I
Sure.
mean, people, like you said, people do kind of what they want to do as long as there's good access. And
Well, I guess my point more so is, like, are you going to have it marked to some, in some, if you're not supposed to enter that way, are you going to have it marked as such? But it sounds like there's not an intent to dictate that people don't.
typically not. I think they normally put like directional signage, like maybe at the exit to the building, they'll have like vacuums with an arrow that way to direct kind of people where to go.
Sure. Okay. So as it relates to loading and unloading, I don't know what kind of deliveries are expected, if it's cleaning equipment or otherwise. So, but what would the expected flow of traffic look like? Because what we need to weigh in on is the signage that would point a delivery driver, if there are delivery drivers at this site, to the loading and unloading.
They really get minimal to no deliveries. Any delivery that comes is actually in vans typically, so they're not larger vehicles. I've designed probably 30 different Tommy's Expresses, and Ethan's been involved in far more than I have too. I've never had a delivery space designated on a Tommy's Express just because they're not that type of use. That being said, I think if the Planning Commission requires us to sign one of the normal parking spaces as delivery, we can definitely do that. There's not going to be, the parking spaces are seldom to never going to be completely full, so there's room. The concern of, well, a delivery is going to come and all the parking spaces are full, that's not going to be the case, but if the Planning Commission feels like you want to have a sign for deliveries, we can definitely add that. It's not a big deal. I've just never had to do that before in other municipalities.
I guess we get the opportunity to give our opinion on that. My opinion, if I can state it, Jake, quick, and then I'll let you share. If we have bi-directional flow of traffic through I call it the vacuum area, there's not going to be any prohibition of a delivery van pulling in off of Stearns or at the more southern entrance. I don't really think it's required that we have it labeled as such for a specific area. Did anyone have any thoughts?
And I'm going to agree. Any good business is not going to impede the ability for people to do what they're there to do, right? So if there's a delivery truck that was to block their vacuums, I'm sure they'd be running out there to tell them to move. Then again, also, it is a business, and they're going to figure out the best way for the people to access that business as possible. So I would agree with you.
What I would encourage you to do, should this get built and you go through with it, is just generally be a good neighbor. So, like, if parking spots are full, don't park at Tractor Supply and walk over with your whatever it might be. So that's just a note, I guess. Which I'm hopeful that you do that anyways. So
I did want to point out, you spoke about directional signage. They do have a directional signage when you come out from the car wash, there is a signage that says directional signage for vacuums to the right. So I'm not sure if that's something, maybe if you want to at least encourage exit to the right and then go around the back side of the building to avoid access in and out here where traffic coming in and leaving at the same time. But there is a directional signage there that does say that vacuums are to the right.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. We're talking about layout. I guess, was there a reason the south was chosen as the entrance and not the north? Because this kind of plays into the traffic flow, but I just want to hear what your thoughts are on the layout first.
For having the two driveways?
Oh, why is the entrance to the building on the south side or not the north side? Was there a decision that was made logically as to why that was done?
Stack more cars in line.
Well, the flow through the site, you really want that northern traffic or northern driveway to be there because you don't want to necessarily route everybody through the vacuums before getting to the pay lanes. But then the southern drive, I think, is also important because after you exit the building, you're washing your car, I think a lot of people will go out the southern driveway and get back in the queue to leave for Stern. So my own opinion is it's got very good traffic flow. If hypothetically, if you only had one driveway to the site, I don't think that would be a good idea at all. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I guess that's how others are laid out. I guess I'm concerned about the conflict point at the road there at the easement. You've got cars coming in trying to turn left to go down to the drive towards Burger King, cars trying to come in to get into the car wash, and I know on a busy day it's going to be backed up to Stearns Road, and they're probably going to be sitting in Stearns Road.
What happens there is, obviously, there are workers right at Tommy's site, so on the sunny days after it's snowing, where it's super busy, they'll actually cone off the entrance, and they'll direct everybody to the secondary entrance. So they do that if there's ever a problem, but the times of the year that happens, it's maybe like 3 or 4 times a year in general. Again, 3 pay lanes, so that there's enough space there for 27 vehicles. So there is a lot of stacking there too.
I mean, I guess I've seen Clean Express with 40 vehicles stacked out to the street. So, I mean, if it were me, I would have considered having the south as the main entrance. So you've got that entire area on the east side as stacking and storage space. So you're not backing up into the street. Yeah. As it sits now, the only place for cars to wait is in Stearns Road or in the entrance, and then it blocks the exit.
And Mr. Dersch, if I could jump in real quick, you said you were going to cone off that entrance?
If it gets really busy, we wouldn't cone off the entire entrance. We would cone off this part of it and direct people to the southern part of it. But that again, you're talking maybe 3 times a year 3 or 4 times a year that would happen.
Well, I mean, those 3 and 4 times a year, with all fairness, is when the accidents happen.
Well, I was going to suggest that is actually, I'm a user of Clean Express, so I will, but yeah, that queue gets out to Stearns Road and it goes all the way to the back of the building, right? Yeah. And I get exactly what you're saying, because every time we have a snap in weather where it's warm, we do get a lot of cars queued up. And it does go all the way out to Stearns, and it does become a problem. I do see a point of conflict that you guys see as well with the easement here, because if you look, the 2 outward lanes, right, are right adjacent with the 3 in lanes. And I know 27 seems like a lot of cars. I also know what we do here in Bedford Township when it comes to a nice day to wash our cars. Everybody does. So I do see, like, if you just take the building and actually flip-flop it, have the queue come to the south lane and have the dryers on the other side, and then exit out on the north side, that does make sense. Now, aesthetically, I don't know if that makes sense for what Tommy's Express has done, but safety-wise, egress, ingress, I think it makes more sense. We just have to discuss if that's really the right thing to do.
I'll say it's more than 3 or 4 times a year. I mean, like right now, this time of the year, it's probably every other day they're backed up out to the street. So it's going to be a continual traffic nightmare.
It's one driver that's distracted that plows into somebody else, or whatever it may be.
I'm Ethan Mao, project manager. I've been with Tommy's for about 5 years. I did just want to chime in and say that this car wash, we keep talking about stacking, and yeah, 27 cars is, there's going to be more than 27 cars there, but I also wanted to mention that this specific car wash model will do 230 cars per hour, which will also pull traffic away from other car washes that might be might be dangerous at the time, and also it gets everyone through quickly. That's why we build them this big. Again, we don't wash 230 cars an hour that often, only on those super busy days, but that's why we do it, to get cars through and on their way.
Fair argument.
Go ahead,
Also,
Jake.
Discussion around, I think one other sticky point that we probably should discuss is the fencing, right, requirement. And if it's needed on both sides, no sides, this is probably an opportunity to discuss what we think is appropriate.
Well, I guess
Flipping it gets rid of the fence.
yeah, I mean, my thoughts on flipping it. Are you guys suggesting the entrance to the car wash would now be on the north side? Normal traffic route would be from the south entrance, wrapping along what's currently called out as the vacuum area, the vacuum area up around the building, and then exit off Stearns Road? I guess what I'm trying, so 27 cars deep, like
I don't see a way to stack cars that way.
3 lanes deep.
You'd have 3 lanes all the way around the
Oh, yeah.
side
Okay, I
out to
see
the
it.
easement. Then all the overflow would be in the easement drive and not on Stearns Road.
I mean, I think all like the safety concerns, that's what we're weighing in on. I think also we just need to speak in practicality. Like if I show up at Tommy's Express and see that it's stacked 3 cars deep in its current arrangement, I'm driving over to Clean Express.
And another thing is
How often are we going to stack cars up into Stearns Road the way it's arranged now? It's probably unlikely. I mean, that's just, I don't want to present some scenario that maybe is not realistic. I could be persuaded otherwise, but that's, I mean.
I'll ask a question I should know the answer to, but I don't. But does your ordinance specify how many stacking spaces we need? And the reason I ask that is because I've literally designed 30 of these. The most stacking I have ever seen a municipality require is 10 spaces. We've got 27. So does your ordinance specify how many stacking spaces car wash needs?
I'll let Jody say, but.
And I should know offhand, but I don't, so I don't remember.
It's all right. We should probably too.
I think it does, but it's not
I think
nearly
it does.
sufficient.
It does say, but let me read, because I believe it says 10. However, keep in mind it's 10 for drive-through, and you're proposing 3 lanes. So it's showing that it should show 10 in each lane, I believe, but it doesn't define it as that way, because majority of car washes back from 1977 probably were 1-lane car washes. Didn't have 3 lanes. But I will say, it comes into play because you do have those now where even fast food restaurants opened a 2nd lane. So they still had to show stacking where they come into one of 10 cars and then it divides. And I believe we looked at those as just 10 stacking cars. But I will pull it because it is in the ordinance. Give me 1 second.
One other thing I will say is that Tommy's Express, they have a couple of different layouts, standard layouts. Some of them have 2 pay lanes, and then some of them have 3. So this one, they went to the 3 pay lanes. A lot of Tommy's locations has 2 pay lanes. I think the existing car wash to our south has 2 pay lanes. So again, we're making an effort to provide that additional stacking there as well.
And keep in mind, for commission members that didn't drive over there, this is a pretty deep site. Like the full length of the building is not insignificant. That's what's over at Clean Express. And I hate to keep going back to Clean Express, but I'm just like, that's what I know. That's where I go currently. That's a lot of space. I don't want to put this practical difficulty on.
The building length for reference is 130 feet long, 131 foot long.
I have that information. An auto wash that's automatic, 1 for each employee, 10 front to back spaces for each automatic wash lane, plus 1 for each vacuum station. So to me, it says for each automatic, 10 back, front to back. So each lane should be able to provide 10 front to back spaces, each lane.
So I guess the argument would be if they had 1 lane, they'd only need 10, right? So
Right.
we're kind of splitting hairs, but yeah.
It's like bad business practice at that point.
That's what the language of the ordinance says.
Yeah, it's not written for today's application.
So I said, I think.
Is written
But
as one tunnel, so
I'm still stuck on the conflict points of the traffic there. I still think it's going to be problematic, and it's probably more of a problem than you're estimating, just because I've lived here my whole life, 30-some plus years. it's busy. And you're a traffic drawer, so you're going to draw new people to an area that haven't been to this area and add additional traffic. So you might take some business from competitors, but you're probably also going to bring in new business too, because you're going to be new and shiny for a while, and it's just going to create additional issues with that flow.
And I see those issues as if we're stacking them in the easement, then we're restrictive of other businesses too. I mean, people are gonna drive right by Tractor Supply and go, I'm not waiting in that line to go get dog food. They're gonna go somewhere else.
And on that note of traffic, I also had some inquiries regarding where they're going to stage for construction, and also construction entrance for when they do site development, as do not encourage access off of Secor Road through those other commercial businesses, that this would be their entrance. I know it's going to be difficult to restrict that, but we would like to at least address that and at least advise the applicant, because the township will be the one that gets the calls, because there are several accesses off of Secor Road, Rite Aid, Burger King, Car Wash, Tractor Supply, all have access to this easement area. So you might want to just discuss construction and then the staging, just to make sure that they have permission from neighboring properties. And keep in mind, Tractor Supply has a special approval use for their outdoor area, so they cannot have any additional staging in their parking lot area.
To address that, all the staging would be on our site to the east of the building, and then all the construction access would come off at Stearns Road. And then again, on the stacking part, I'll point out again, we've got 27 parking spaces, and I understand that conflict point. I clearly see what you're saying, but you're assuming that the 27 spaces aren't enough, and what I'm saying is that in our opinion, it is. It's more than enough. So.
I'm going to give one more.
And again, the road commission has reviewed this plan. They are the ones that actually widened out the drive, requiring it to be widened out. So they have reviewed this and they're okay with it. I actually, when they asked me to widen it out, I had this exact same comment as you. I said, well, is it this, how is this going to function? How is this going to work? And they said, no, this is what we want. So it quite frankly wasn't me saying, I want to widen this drive out. I want to do these other things. It was the road commission saying, widen this out, do it this way, or whatever that's worth.
I did have a conversation with the road commission on it, because it is a very non-standard commercial approach. Yep. It's very narrow, small radii with widened lanes, which I questioned the county engineer myself personally, because I said, this doesn't look like a proper driveway, and you have narrow radii for your vehicles turning out and in. And I guess they had said they had worked with you to try to encourage those widths of those driveway lanes that are out there. I'm not sure I necessarily, in my engineering experience, quite agree with everything I see there. But, and I know that the easement driveway coming in has been, ever since Burger King was constructed, has even maintained that driveway at all, really. It's almost non-maintained. Yeah. In fact, I'm glad to see the one catch basin in there. You went as far, because that thing sits about 1.5 feet low, and you can't hardly drive in there without hitting it. So I am concerned about the conflict points. I did see that as you're coming around the building. There is the potential for conflict on there. I know you said that the road commission and there's demanded a traffic study, and township engineer has reviewed it. It's not the best situation by far. I see the potential for conflict, but on the other hand, you aren't a Chick-fil-A either, which gets 3 lanes are backed up for half a mile. But I think I would be likewise. I echo the comment earlier that, I have a membership to Clean Express right now, and I mean, if I see somebody backed out close to Secor, I'm going somewhere else. I'm coming back an hour later, because chances are they're not going to, it'll shrink a lot. But I have a hard time believing there'd be too much in 3 lanes that could be done. I don't know if there's any way we could reconfigure that one entrance where you're 3 lanes to prevent that from stacking, but you will have some weave movement and conflict movements in there. There's no doubt that could create some problems, but I mean, I understand that it's been looked at carefully by the road agency and the township engineer, and it's a challenging location.
Barry, what's your main which turn radius are you most concerned about here?
Well, I am accepting the road commission's and the township engineer approvals of that, which has already been granted. Sure. It's just a very non-standard wide approach, and actually a narrow approach controls traffic almost easier than a wide approach that allows more movement. But I'm accepting the fact that the road commission and the township engineer has looked at this configuration and is accepting that. If you want, I can go into a few other comments I do have on the site plan, unless we want to talk further about this
specific on that.
On the stacking and the conflict, I just wanted to make one comment, and I'm going to close the book on it, but maybe we're talking about an exception to overall what could happen here, right? This isn't, I think we can all agree it's probably not something that's going to occur every single day. So I wonder if the compromise is, great, let's accept it is what it is for 27 cars in the stacking. Is there, and this might be where I need help, right? Is there a stipulation or condition we could put up on it to have a written plan to when that 27 isn't enough? And just state that that's okay, let's have some type of plan in here to allow this site plan to move forward if there ever is a conflict with 27 being not enough for the stacking.
Well, it seems like a condition of the easement agreement should be that the easement cannot be blocked at any access to the easement can't be blocked at any time. So as soon as you back yourself up to that dark black line, you're now blocking entrance and exit to.
And there needs to be a protocol, a written protocol, and I don't know if that's something we can do as a condition of looking for legal support on that, but that's maybe a way that we can get around this, because I think 27 might be enough. I'm gonna take their recommendation. They've done this a few more times than we have. But I'm realistic enough to know that on those nice sunny days after a lot of salt on the roads, people like to go wash their cars, and there's a lot of people go wash their cars.
Go ahead, Jacob.
If I can jump in on that, while something in writing may be nice, I mean, it's great to put whatever we want down on paper. How are we really going to enforce that easement not being blocked, because the public doesn't know about that? I mean, they're going to keep coming in and stacking up, and in the meantime, you're going to have a Tommy's Express employee out there trying to turn cars around and causing accidents.
Yeah, so maybe to that point, looking for some guidance from planning and from Marty, but the part of the conditional or the special approval process is that if conditions of our special approval are not met, that the special approval can be revoked. Is that accurate?
Yes, and that would be reconvening the planning commission to review the complaints or the alleged violations. And that's a pretty dramatic step. You've got a multi-million-dollar development. You're going to end their special approval. So that's something that you don't want to have to consider.
Yeah, if we can not have a condition that we plan to leverage, obviously that's the goal. But
if I could, I mentioned it a while ago, but again, if this is ever an issue, Tommy's will cone this off during those busy periods to not let anybody in and out of this north driveway, and then you do have all that queuing. But again, you're talking the extreme exception that would ever be needed. So
I do also need to just mention again, the root cause of these sites getting backed up and car washes that are locally here is that they're processing maybe 80 cars an hour. This literally will do 3 times as many cars per hour getting customers through, and it's the most efficient car wash in the world.
And related to that too, this is a little bit different than most car washes because I don't know if you're familiar with Tommy's at all, but the entire car sits on a large conveyor. And what Ethan is saying is they control the speed that conveyor goes. So when it gets busier, that's what they do. They turn up the conveyor speed. It kicks more cars out so they can internally control how fast cars go through their car wash.
Additionally, it lets us put cars 18 inches apart versus 10 feet, which you're probably used to seeing. So that's how we process so many.
Just for future reference, if I go at a busy time, am I gonna get a worse wash because you sped me through it?
Slightly. And that's why they have a preferred speed where
I'm gonna get a wash.
where it's not busy, the conveyor goes slower because you do get a little bit better car wash when it's slower.
Just trying
You're
to,
exactly correct.
just trying to lighten the mood.
Greg's got a question.
Very slight, but yes.
You guys have a location on Monroe Street in Toledo, is that correct?
Yes, that's a corporately owned store, yes.
What is, in your queue, or wherever you're calling it, what does the Monroe Street location have? Do you know?
Sorry, I have a lot of projects going. I need to look up that actually.
Okay, well.
It's a weird one because it's got access on Monroe Street and Sylvania.
Okay.
That has two major section
has-
roads and,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
yes.
Is it more than 27 if you had to
No,
guess?
the one.
so it's less than, it's likely to be less than 27.
Correct. The ones that I've designed, and I've designed probably 25 to 30 of them, they're either, the layout's the same. The difference is they have different tunnel lengths. They go from 130 is the longest, which is what this one is. So that has more stacking, down to even a 90-foot, but normally it's either 130 and 110. And then about probably 30% of the ones that I've designed are actually only 2-pay lanes, and then the rest are 3-pay lanes. But the layout is the same on every site. So pretty much every site has this number of stacking or less.
Okay. Well, so, and I would assume, I don't know if you know projections, and if you don't know that, you might not, and I wouldn't expect you to know the numbers that location does compared to what your projections would be for this location. But I would assume that there would be more volume at Monroe Street in Sylvania than there would be here. And I could be completely wrong about that, but that would be my assumption, is at that location that would do more volume than this location. I don't know.
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I will say that one of the busiest car washes in the entire world is in Holland, Michigan, and it has a shorter stacking than this. It's the same tunnel length, 130-foot tunnel. Does 230 cars an hour, 110 does about 180. So the shorter the tunnel, the slower the belt's moving, those cars are getting through. But the one on on Chicago Drive in Waverly in Holland that has quite a bit shorter stacking than this, and is probably, it's got to be one of the busiest car washes in the world. Same speed, same.
That's what I'm just thinking, like, and what would anybody agree or disagree if you had to make an assumption that a Monroe and Sylvania location would do more volume than this, or would you think it would do?
I wouldn't disagree with you at all. I think you're right. Yeah, there's more traffic there by far.
And I don't think because of over the last, I don't know what it's been, 10, 15 years, how many car washes are in there in Toledo like this now? That I wouldn't think, and again, I'm making assumptions, that this location is drawing as much Toledo traffic as Kroger is. I would think that this location is drawing more likely to be local than because of the availability of all of the new car washes in Toledo right now. And again, that's an assumption. So I'm less concerned about the amount of lanes stacking and all of that. Some of these, the service drive, or the whatever we're calling that, the drive coming in off. No. Like the
Easement,
like everything coming off of Stearns it just seems like, which I don't know, and I've lived here my entire life. Can you currently exit out of that Burger King?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't think I even knew that. Yeah. I thought it was I know cars can go in, but it was like, I almost thought that that's a one-way. I think I've used,
Burger King, their exit is out to Secor.
Yeah.
The vast majority of it goes there. Interesting story that I heard secondhand, so I don't know for sure if this is true, but when 3 years ago, again, we started this project or process, I didn't contact, but Tommy's contacted the property owner for Burger King. He didn't even know that they owned this. So
Yeah.
Craig, I'll give you a history lesson because I'm a little older than you. So when I was in high school, Burger King was built, and that was like a big deal for us to have a second place to go eat. And that's when that access road was put in, specifically so you could access Burger King off of Stearns Road.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole
Well,
reason
so
I was there.
I've always known that. I've probably used it once, but I thought it was an entrance only.
It is tight.
I don't think I've ever seen, I was trying to think through, like, are cars coming out? I don't think I've ever seen a car come out of there. I've only ever seen cars, and usually,
Go over at 10:30, 11 o'clock at lunchtime then.
yeah, people are wheeling and dealing through.
That
I
access
believe
road
it.
was never, I don't think it was ever built for what it's now being used for. It was literally just so Burger King had some access to Stearns Road.
Well, and now
That's why it's being required to widen it at Stearns Road, because right now it's only 25 feet in width.
Yeah.
That's pavement to pavement.
Because now you're actually going to have significant
Yes.
cars being able to pull back out. And I think the crossing, that's probably my concern, is the crossing of traffic, because if that is an exit, the whole distance from Tractor Supply, Burger King, and there's traffic coming in and then having to cross across the middle of that to get into the lane, and then it seems like it could get a little sketchy. But
And Burger King has an enormous monument sign like right here too, so it just adds to the.
There's a lot of issues.
Pretty
with
big.
You got the car wash using it now, Tractor Supply's using it. If Rite Aid, whoever goes there, is going to use this drive, there's already several businesses sharing this.
I also didn't know you could get to Tractor Supply from there. I
Yeah,
thought you could only get, until I saw this layout, I thought you could only get to Tractor Supply off Secor.
You gotta go to Burger
Visit
King.
Landfill
I'm going to start,
sometime.
tell you how often I go to Burger King.
Gotta get out more.
much.
Obviously, you said you did a traffic study. What is the ADT for inbound and outbound traffic coming out of that existing driveway?
The traffic study was done years ago, from what I remember, and we've done, Police in Vanderbrink does a traffic study for Tommy's. In general, their peak hour is a total of like 98 to 100 trips per hour. Trip is, so like if I go, it's one trip, and leave, it's another trip, so they approximately 50 vehicles an hour.
Right, but what happens to, you obviously counted the traffic on Burger King driveway existing, right?
I assume so, but again, that was like 3 years ago, and I didn't do the traffic study. It was done by Police in Vanderbrink and then reviewed by the township engineer and the road commission.
That would have been before Clean Express reopened.
And I'm only going to interject because the township engineer does not review the traffic
Right,
study.
right.
It is
I-
just the road commission.
that's just
I just
road
don't want to,
commission.
I don't want to throw the township
I
engineer.
know he wouldn't have reviewed it at
We
that
use it,
time.
yeah.
But I guess on that topic though, Barry, you said you talked to a representative from the road commissioner, the township engineer.
Yes.
Would they normally review with respect to an easement roadway or just Stearns Road?
Primarily Stearns Road. The township engineer would look at some of those aspects, but not in the detail we're talking about it. You know, there are conflict movements there, and there's no doubt that some of our dialogue tonight certainly is well worth it, because there are a lot of volume where you're going to have cross movements of traffic there, and it's in relative proximity to Stearns Road. So, you know, the worst thing you can have is somebody turning in off Stearns Road, hitting their brakes, and somebody else coming in right behind them. So, I mean, there are some issues there. There's no doubt. That's why I was asking about the volume of traffic coming in for Burger King, because if you got, you know, I don't particularly see a lot of traffic coming in that driveway or going out, but I'm not out there every day either, and it's a concern, so.
I just wanted to say, piggybacking on Mr. Bushman's comments, I was going to, with the concerns of the conflict of the entrance, please keep in mind that the road commission and Banniken Smith as a township engineer is looking majority at the Stearns Road entrance, because it is private once it gets into the site, and the easement area is private. So not that they don't overlook at the overall development, but their concern for the traffic of getting in and out of Stearns Road is what they're reviewing for the ingress egress, not actually from the easement of Burger King.
Yeah, so they're not looking, again, where I'm coming from is if you're coming from the vacuums and you want to make a left onto this service drive, you got to get all the way past the 3 lanes that could possibly be stacked, impeding your vision of traffic coming out. you're going to be blocking the 2 exit lanes into that entrance lane coming in off of Stearns. Cars are going to go well past, I guess, where that sign is that's highlighted in magenta there to make that left-hand turn. And a lot of people will probably turn left to go back to Secor. They're not all going to turn right to go to Stearns, because making a left onto Stearns is hell when there's traffic. They're going to go to Secor and cut out that way, use the traffic light to their advantage. So it's just a bad conflict point in my opinion. I'm really stuck on that one.
I agree.
Mr. Montrese had his arms
Craig, why
getting
don't you
sore.
speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Is there, so I'm assuming this comes from the road commission. Did they state why they didn't want you to have the exit coming out of the east side over here, which would be the northeast, that northeast corner?
New driveway on Stearns?
New curb cut?
Yeah.
Limiting the curb, I mean, that,
It really is a nightmare
That's
area for
basically
curb
what they
cuts.
said,
You think when you look at the site, you have Arby's curb cut, you have the old veterinarian curb cut, you have this Burger King easement curb cut. You would have had barely 50 feet to 100 feet to their curb cut, 50 feet. Then you have the vet clinic's curb cut, Hampton Manor's curb cut, and they're all within 100, maybe 50 feet, because their property is only 50 feet wide, and actually the frontage is 50 feet, but it has a weird bump out where this, you see where this little bump is here? This is a weird shape. Their property actually goes like this and then cuts over and then comes out. But then you have their curb cut for Lambertville veterinarian is right here. They were proposing a curb cut here, and then you had this curb cut, you have a curb cut right here, and you have a curb cut, I think the vet clinic is 60 feet in width, it's an old property, and then you had another curb cut 60 feet. So I think the compromise working with Tommy's, the road commission, and the township, safety-wise, was to use, and that's the intent of the easement. That's why Burger King, well, Miss Rendell and Burger King worked together when she owned the entire piece of the property, is how long this easement has been in place to Burger King. So I think at the time, it was to encourage connection within, as what is across the street, where Taco Bell, Huntington Bank, and Walgreens all have interconnectivity to keep the traffic from being all pushed to the corner. I think that is, but I can see the concerns, and they were township concerns, where the right turnout is. I'm not sure if there's something within this area that I think this is where it's going to be the concern, is if I'm coming out and turning right, and there's 3 cars stacked here turning right, it's going to be difficult. Because all the traffic from Tractor Supply, Burger King, once Rite Aid would become open in a used building again, the car wash, all of that traffic, if it is exiting onto Stearns Road, you may have some congestion. I think possibly instead of having for the exit for vacuums, maybe it needs to be an exit this way behind the building and back around, and only use this as an entrance, would be my thoughts, to eliminate in and out of traffic coming from this entrance as a township.
Jake, you got something?
Yeah, just suggestion here, guys, on the exit, right? Because yeah, if you're coming out and you're trying to take a left on this easement to go to Secor Road, you could put a sign at the end of the exit that says, if you're going to Secor Road, take the Tractor Supply exit out to Secor Road, right? Just try to redirect them. Just food for thought, right? If you're trying to just remove a lot of people queuing up to turn left out of that easement there.
Is that a,
and we can change that directional sign on the north to instead just say vacuum, saying exit, and direct everybody to the right as you're leaving. I think that's a good idea. And then we've talked about this already, but as Mr. Bushman said, this drive entrance that's proposed, it's atypical. It was required, the way I show it is required per the road commission. When they asked me to widen it out, they said 45 feet. I personally have not heard that wide of a driveway for 3 approaches. Typically for 3 lanes, it's either 36 or 39 feet. Once in a while, 42. They said 45. I specifically sent the road commission an email saying, 45, are you sure that's how wide you want it? Can't we go to 39? Can't we go to 36? My reason for trying to narrow that was actually what Jody was saying, to pull our east curb line further to the west to provide a little more definition. And they said, no, 45. So it wasn't a matter of me even getting their comments and saying, okay, I'll do this. I questioned them on it. I said, are you sure this is what you want? The other thing that they mentioned is one of the times iterations that we sent it, they wanted the entire driveway approach redone, which we were trying to save like the west curb line. The west curb line, as Mr. Bushman said, it's a tight radius. They said they want it reconstructed. The problem with making a larger radius there is the adjacent driveway literally starts right where ours ends. So we can't impact an existing driveway with our new driveway. So it's a very atypical design, but again, I guess furthering that matter, I believe somebody said, well, the road commission just worries about the right-of-way and what's inside the right-of-way, but I specifically asked them about that throat width, and I said, are you okay with this access as is? And they said, yes. So, for whatever that's worth. I didn't just take their word for it and say, okay, I questioned them on it, because I had those same concerns.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's helpful. Barry, I know you had a lot of comments. I want to come back to you if you're ready. We can keep on discussion.
I think that's, your primary concern, or our primary concern is access. I mean, as we were discussing a little bit, the thing you always want to avoid is a conflict right at the throat of approach.
Yep.
That's the worst place you can put it, because you've got so much traffic movement at that point. So your goal is always to try to move that turn movement into a site as far back from the entrance as possible.
In other words, nope, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, your goal is to always move that access point as far back into the site as possible. And to have that with that weave movement and the conflict movements right at the throat of the approach is the problem. And ideally, if you could figure out a way to try to move that entrance in there and just have the exit out the other side, you'd be ideal, where you could actually bring it in somehow further in the entrance drive without ending up having a problem with your stacking volume, which is another issue. So it's just it's not a good situation the way it's situated right now. I can see, a lot of conflict movements that they have. So.
Greg, you have something on that topic?
I don't want to, no. I'm thinking about the drive. Is there anything we can do to stop, I guess it would be at roughly the Burger King in back of the old animal hospital property, which I don't know if we can even see on any of the, well, yeah, where that drive would only be entrance outside of, that Burger King traffic and Tractor Supply traffic doesn't flow out of that.
It's all ingress, egress, the easement is, and I don't believe they have authorization to actually change that language because Burger King owns it.
Okay.
So what you're saying, Craig, is dictate
Eliminate.
that all access into that easement is inbound from
Well,
Stern.
except for the car wash, that the car wash could have some of their, where you could see where, okay, then you don't have crossing at the very least. You wouldn't have crossing of traffic there if you could block that off and there's not Tractor Supply, Burger King traffic trying to get out of there while there's other stuff coming in and crossing. It would make it, I don't know if it would make it perfect, but it would definitely
I
clean
think
it
though
up a
that it
little
might
bit.
make it more confusing for the residents that have been using it for all
Yeah.
these years too.
Yeah.
That would say, I think it might make some more congestion, but I don't believe they have the authorization to say they can do that because it was an agreement with Burger King management.
Especially people going Tractor Supply, picking up large amounts of feed or whatever with trailers. Good luck trying to turn left onto Secor with a trailer coming out of Tractor Supply.
If you're going right?
No, if you're turning left onto Secor.
Well,
Now they can turn left onto Stearns and then left onto Secor at the light there.
is that better?
It's better safety-wise.
Really?
I don't know how familiar you are with pulling trailers, but yeah.
I wouldn't want to pull a trailer out of, I wouldn't want to turn left out of any of those.
So, as a minimum provision, the way it exists now,
To the light, that's why.
for traffic through the easement headed north, trying to exit from Burger King or otherwise, there's going to be a conflict for inbound traffic to the car wash, right? So do we need to suggest adding a sign for on the northbound side, maybe adjacent to, can I point? Is there a way to point? There's probably not a way to point. Can you use your cursor? So move your cursor to the left, to the green space on the left, yeah, right where Steve's pointing. We probably need some kind of signage at a minimum there that says yield to incoming car wash traffic.
That's a good idea.
Right? I mean, do you follow that? Sorry.
Planning Commission can require any directional signage.
Can you use your cursor so these guys can see where he's pointing?
Right here?
Yeah, right in there. So we need for vehicles headed northbound from Tractor Supply, Burger King, or otherwise that are trying to exit to Stearns, they're going to have a conflict with cars coming in from Stearns going to the car wash. There's going to be conflict there. I'm suggesting at minimum we have a sign there that says yield to incoming car wash traffic or something to that end.
Did you put a stop sign?
I don't know if you can put a stop sign in the easement.
I think that's got to be a part of the easement agreement with Burger King because they own that road.
That is,
Well,
that is the car wash's property, so
Yeah,
I
that's in the
believe
car
if
wash
they would be
property.
willing, and that is their property.
I guess it's
I'm
their-
not sure about the access on Burger King to tell them they have to stop on the easement.
Yeah, it's
And
the
I
car
see it
wash's
being
property.
restrictive of other businesses too.
Yeah, it's the car wash's property, but it's not their road that they're telling them what to do on. It's like me putting a sign on my property telling my neighbor not to do something.
So, yeah, your neighbor doesn't have to listen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your neighbor doesn't have to listen. It's not a traffic sign that's enforceable by law, but it's a courtesy. I mean, if we're gonna go forward with this site plan, I think that's a minimum. I can put signs in my
Personally, I
yard to
think that's a
whatever.
great idea. Circling back, I also think it's a great idea to the directional sign north of the car wash to direct all traffic to the vacuums instead of saying, hey, you can get out to the left too, to keep as much traffic as possible away from that intersection.
Well, yeah, to that point, I don't know if that's better to exit through the vacuums to the easement on the south side and then cars just turn right and do the same thing. It's actually cleaner to come out of the car wash lane going left, getting into that right turn lane. Again, the cursor might be helpful.
Yes, personally, I think it depends on how busy it is.
If I want to get
If
to
cars are there, it'll work fine. The concern is if it's super busy
Sure.
and backed up. But yes.
But if I want to get to Stearns Road and you're telling me if I'm coming out of the wash, I need to turn right, go through the vacuums, come out through this easement road, I'm still getting to Stearns Road. I'm going to turn right.
Correct.
And then I'm going to create that conflict that we're talking about with this yield
Okay.
potential for. So it's kind of like devil's advocate, I guess. I'm not against it, but.
I guess, what's the business impact of flipping it so you come in from the south side? 'Cause I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Almost every tunnel car wash in Toledo, you enter from the main road and you drive around to the back of the building, so you have the whole parking lot for stacking. And I'm thinking the Clean Express on Talmadge is like that. The old Russ's on Secor is like that. You pull in, you drive all the way through the property to stack, and then you come out the building towards the exit of the street.
I'd argue that's what they're doing here.
You would come in on the south and have that whole building you drive around to get to it. So it pulls the traffic away from the exit so you don't have that conflict. Or they have two curb cuts where they have a separate curb cut to come in and a separate curb cut to go out in some cases.
No, you're coming in on the north side, aren't you?
Currently, but I'm asking,
yeah.
what's the business impact if you came in on the south side? If we said you had to use the south entrance as the only entrance, is there a business impact? Is that going to hurt your revenue? Or is there something we're not thinking about if we were to say that?
If it's just the south entrance, then it's just a matter of convenience for the customer. The typical time where it's not busy, they can get right to the car wash as opposed to driving all the way around the car wash. The way it's set up now with the two entrance or two drives, there's a little bit more flexibility. Once I turn in, I don't have to go through to the car wash. There's options to get around the site a little bit better. I don't know, Ethan, if you have other.
Yeah, it's just mainly convenience for customers. We like to set it up where you can get into that, queued up to get into the wash as soon as possible after you turn off the road. Flipping at the entrance would be way farther away from the road. Just take longer for customers to get in.
Question on, let's go back a little bit on Burger King issue. Where do you stand exactly with that? Because they're going to have their own attorneys and engineers looking at that approach. Have you got a firm agreement with them even?
We're drafting an agreement right now.
Have they commented about that access approach specifically?
Yeah, we've sent, they've had this plan for weeks now, and
Have they approved it?
they're not going to approve it without the agreement in front of them.
Have they verbally approved what you've talked about and said, yeah, we're good,
Yes,
get us
they
a
said,
draft?
yes, we're good with this if you do X, Y, and Z, which is what is the easement agreement. They want us to take care of the maintenance, obviously give them easement onto our property as well, but yes.
And I believe one of the conditions that was recommended from staff or the planner to the planning commission is to make the approval conditioned on getting Burger King's agreement before any permits would be issued. So the planning commission is covered either way by you saying, yes, we're okay with this. It doesn't mean we're okay to go. We still have to get Burger King's okay on it. Right.
And I can,
Personally, I'm not an attorney, but personally, there's an existing easement there. So I don't know, I mean,
I will say that, yes, we have many conversations about this, and I have spoken to Burger King Properties as well. They are working together. Burger King wants to see it in writing, and as a township, approving this would be providing TX Lambertville to work and improve someone else's property. And as a township, speaking in the road commission and with the drain commission, we should not be approving something without permission from another property owner because they are utilizing it. Now, they can utilize the ingress egress, but they would have no main access to any section line road without permission from Burger King. And what the issue is they have to not only improve this area of the road, they're improving the widening Stearns Road, and this hash area here is Burger King's property, and this area here is their property. So the ingress egress does need to be amended to allow them to not only utilize Stearns Road as the main entrance and make those improvements. So they are working with Burger King. I do know, I've spoken to both parties. We've met out with Burger King at the site, the building official and I. So they are working on it, but as a township, and speaking with the road commission and the drain commission, soil erosion, building department, we will not prevent anyone moving forward, but we will require that easement to be recorded so it can be in perpetuity to all property owners that are existing on the easement before any building permits or work can commence on the site.
Jody, we might have covered this already, but the other properties back behind this Tractor Supply and otherwise, have they all been given access to, they've all been granted access to that easement formally because they're connected to it?
The easement in the original agreement provided for the entire piece when it was one whole piece. So actually the two family apartments, Hampton Manor, Lambertville Vet Clinic, this property, Burger King, and Tractor Supply were all part of the easement when it was first originally drawn up. Now, having said that, the two-family Angus Lane does not have access to it any longer. Hampton Manor has no ingress egress to it. Lambertville Vet Clinic has no ingress egress to it. It's going to be stub end abuts Rite Aid, Tractor Supply, Burger King, and this property are the only ones now going to actually be utilizing it for ingress. Anybody can use it. I mean, you'll see people that will go through there just to get to the other side if they're cutting through. So you will see it utilized even if no one utilizes the businesses. But it was originally from the entire property when it was all one piece before it was created into 5 parcels.
I guess the reason I'm asking is we have to determine as part of the special approval whether this addition will be detrimental to the other uses in the area. And like one could make a case that the added traffic could impact traffic flow at Tractor Supply or Rite Aid or Burger King. But if Burger King kind of operates and owns the easement and all other parties have had prior knowledge of adjacent facilities that would have access to said easement, I guess maybe that becomes a non-issue to a degree. I don't know if I'm asking.
Maybe the attorney addressed that because I believe the easement is in place and it provides for all of them to utilize as ingress egress. That's what the easement is determining. He's asking if they should be notified, will it be detrimental to their businesses by increasing the traffic flow of the car wash onto that ingress egress?
I would say it's probably not within your realm to be notifying those parties. They're already a party to the easement, and they know that other properties are allowed to use it.
But if the easements, you're going through the process of getting access to this easement by way of Burger King. The other stakeholders of that easement don't necessarily have to weigh in or give approval, like they don't own it.
Well, they also got notice of this hearing tonight.
Sure, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
But legally
In
speaking,
retrospect, I'm going to be the other end. Keep in mind, they're also widening it and improving it. Not only will it be detrimental for the increase in traffic, but they are widening the access to Stearns. They are improving this area, and I believe from discussions with Burger King, they are working on a maintenance agreement and improving the entire easement area. So I'm not voicing one way, but those are things I think in determining whether it's detrimental. It's increasing the access to Stearns Road. They are willing to put the yield signs. They are willing to do what is required to make it not detrimental, but it's going to be a determination from you.
Have you looked at the possibility of, because essentially that throat in there coming into your site is wide. So it allows for, lack of better terms, uncontrolled access. Have you looked at any possibility of narrowing the throat of your inbound and outbound by maybe extending that curve? And I'm going to get up here. And
I think I got you right here.
yeah, instead of that having that drive or that road going due south, take that curb out almost along the line, make it more curvilinear so you had stacking of 2-3 cars going outbound, and then narrowing that approach to a more traditional, like 24-foot wide approach. That would cause people to have to come further in the drive and access that better without just cutting across every which way.
I completely follow what you're saying, and yes, I did look at that. My concern with that is the radius of that.
It's tight. It's going to be tight, yeah.
And people that would want to exit out of that, I had a concern with people being able to make that sharp turn.
That'd be a challenge. I mean, you could make that more curvilinear and then still give yourself a radius in there.
That would work great if the road commission would let me go to a 36 or a 39-foot throat width, which is part of my conversation with them is, well, why do you need 45? So, but yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I did look at that. I just felt.
I mean, I think you could still gain more stacking and still control your throat of your approach. And that kind of forces that entrance a little further.
Yep.
And especially outbound movement.
Yep. No, I follow you. And I did look at that.
And even extending that curb on the south end a little further north too, to control it as they come in.
Yep. The reason I didn't on the south end, extending it north, is again, that radius is very sharp. And then I felt like I was pushing it closer to the Stearns Road, which I was trying to keep away from.
Yeah, I'm just trying to control that access point. And
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's because right now it's pretty much a free-for-all in there, and it's
Again, my own opinion on that is the more traffic leaving the car wash building that you can get to turn right, I think that would do, my own opinion, that would do a lot of help.
But again, how are you going to enforce that or try to enforce that?
Signage, and the other thing is too, Tommy's has a lot of their business through monthly memberships. So once somebody visits the site a couple of times, they know where the best traffic flow goes.
Let's say I live in Quail Hollow across the street.
I'm not saying that's every case. I'm just saying the majority of people will
we're looking at a reduction, not necessarily a exemption, I guess, of anyone exiting to the left when they come out of the car wash. You can't mandate that unless you're going to have someone go stand out there or put cones out.
Even putting signing on the easement, we can't do.
We can do, we cannot enforce. Yeah, agreed.
Right. I guess I want to pivot here to the special use approval and maybe ask a couple questions of Marty to give us some guidance here. So some of these are pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, compliance with federal laws, regulations, public safety and health, permitting and stuff kind of covers all that. But looking up here at, is not contrary to the spirit and purpose of this ordinance, is not incompatible with already existing uses in the area. Is there a legal precedent or an example of what you would justify for that? And that kind of also ties into the first bullet point here, but first sentence about, not injurious to the district or envirus and not contrary then to the spirit and purpose of this ordinance or in conflict or detrimental to the items.
Well, as you can tell, they're pretty broad and vague terms. And I think the first question you had, something about inconsistent with local uses or something, that would be more like a spot zoning. You put a fireworks place in amongst a bunch of gas stations or something, something like that. So I guess you have to be concerned about whether there's some special use in the midst of something that's inconsistent in that regard. But these are broad planning type principles, and we didn't have a professional planner look at this as far as I know, and therefore we don't have any of their advice. So you have to best take this, and you're having very good conversation, and I guess you have to decide, does it rise to the level that it's inconsistent with the site, or it would interfere with orderly development of the area, or it would be detrimental to the safety or convenience of vehicular or pedestrian traffic. You're getting pretty darn close to that, and maybe you've come to that conclusion. So these are all the things that any motion should contain consideration and rationale for.
Barry might beat me to it, but I'll jump off that cliff about the safety and traffic. I think we've beat that horse to death, and I think Barry was going to beat me to that statement, but I have a hard time saying that criteria is met with this layout. And in this use in general, I guess the amount of traffic and vehicles that it's going to draw to this site as it is, I have a hard time that it's not going to cause safety hazards or be an inconvenience to vehicle and pedestrians in this area.
Agreed. I think it's one of those, we went through the motions and, everybody did the review, necessarily mean we should.
I could add too, that, again, traffic study was done for the access to the site, and that was determined to be acceptable. I will also say that typically our car wash is not a destination. What I mean by that is very seldom do you have somebody sitting at home going, I think I'm going to go get my car wash. It's typically people already using the roads. As far as internal circulation, again, we can add signage. One thing that we could do, prefer not to, but similar to I think what somebody was saying, I'll walk up here. I mean, we could reduce the width of this driveway, add a radius here to more direct people. If you don't believe people are going to follow signage, get people to come around that way. So I think there are things that we can do to alleviate the majority of the concerns. So I just wanted to point that out to you as well.
It still feels like the biggest point of contact is going to be other uses, or maybe even uses from the car wash exiting along the easement on the South Drive, headed back towards Stearns, and people entering off Stearns. That's going to be the biggest.
Yeah.
That's going to be your biggest.
And the easement stacking up for cars trying to turn left on Stearns. And then you're blocking people from getting out of the wash because they're all stacked.
Yeah,
and that you can't control.
And that's something we didn't really talk about till.
So, and if you're pushing out the amount of cars that you're saying an hour,
well,
let's figure, well, that's fine. So let's use that number. So let's figure 30% of those cars are going to turn left.
I'm sorry.
You're not,
Can we have Steve come back to the mic, though? Thank you. That's all right, so the public can hear. Thank you.
So let's figure even 30% of those cars are going to turn left. You can't stack that many cars in that easement without being in Tractor Supply's parking lot.
Not to mention, you may have people trying to get in that left turn lane from the easement and from the car wash potentially if they follow your signage.
And then your wash is stopping because people can't turn out.
So you're saying you see 30 cars stacked to get out of the site. I think you're kind of picking your poison here. You first say there's not enough stacking here, and then we say, well, we can accelerate the conveyors, and now you're saying, well, if you could accelerate if you do 200 cars, then you're going to have a problem. Well,
No, what I'm saying is if you are accelerating them, instead of the problem with the cars coming in, you're going to have the problem with the cars coming out. So no matter what you do, you either have a problem coming in or going out.
I think what Mr. Tremblay is saying is the exit onto Stearns Road, the traffic there is hellacious at times. And those two spaces for a left turn or a right turn are going to back past your entrance and then block your entrance, which then impedes vehicles from coming in.
Most problematic will be the left turn lane.
Yeah, definitely the
Right
left
turn, you guys have made some adjustments. You've widened that approach.
You've got the traffic light to help.
So that helps, but the left turn lane is going to be your most stacked up exit.
And it's not just your traffic. You've got Tractor Supply, you've got Clean Express, you got whatever goes where the Rite Aid property is, the Burger King property there. There's several other businesses that share that exit.
I'm gonna add a but to that, guys, because Tractor Supply already thought about that. That's why they asked for a curb cut on Secor Road, right? So if people are going to Secor Road out of call it this complex, if you will now, they're gonna use that exit at Tractor Supply.
For Secor Road?
Yeah, right, instead of coming back out to this egress and taking a left onto Stearns to go to Secor, because that was the argument.
I just can't see them making a left across 4 lanes of traffic versus 2.
Well, no, if they're going to go to Secor Road, why would you come out of this easement and take a left when you could easily go out?
So you can turn left at the light and
Well, if you're
wait.
turning right on Secor Road, you're going to go right, but it is easier to take a left out of there.
Right.
On a Secor Road instead of fighting a bunch of traffic turning left on Stearns.
All of this is good.
Right.
And maybe predictable behaviors. We also have to consider the unpredictable behaviors.
Well,
Like I need to get to Taco Bell or I need to get to Walgreens.
Well, I understand, guys,
It's
but
not unpredictable.
what we're asking the property owner to do is to plan for every single stinking exception that could ever come under the sun. That's what we have to think about.
I don't think telling them to plan for traffic is every single exception.
It's not planning for traffic. They've done that, right? They've done that. The question
years
is
ago,
what's
though.
reasonable. You can't plan for every single exception. It's not possible. So we do have to pick what we think is important here. Okay?
We have to, as a commission, review those stipulations as are stated in our ordinance. And this is a very special case. This isn't an individual curb cut with entry and exit dedicated to this use. This includes multiple other uses with multiple other.
With an ingress egress on an easement.
We have to determine if this is going to cause a detriment to the other local facilities. Maybe that's not a problem. But vehicular and pedestrian access, that's what we are arguing, I guess, right now.
Go ahead, Judy. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
Jody.
We
need to hear from
I'm
you.
just voicing as the planning department and the things that have been discussed. On Jake's point of the fact that those other entities that utilize this easement do have their own ingress egress to a section line road. Keeping that in mind, they were not granted an additional easement to utilize Stearns Road. And if they were given another curb cut onto Stearns Road, they could still utilize this ingress egress for access. So I'm not trying to steer in any other direction, but keep in mind, if they got access to Stearns Road, they still could have had these two curb cuts onto the easement because they have permission with the existing easement to utilize it for ingress egress. I'm all for all the conversation on the concern of the conflict of the entrance to Stearns Road, but they could have that access and another ingress egress. We were trying to eliminate too much access onto Stearns Road was why we did not want additional curb cut. So their curb cut here, they could have two accesses off of the site into the ingress egress and feasibly still have had proposed. And I think the initial plan from 2022 showed a curb cut on Stearns and two ingress and egress off of the ingress egress that was granted, just for clarification.
So I just have one question for you. So at what point did you decide not to flip the building the other way? Because if you flip the other building the other way, I know what's preferable to for the developer. But if you flip the building up, north to south, flip it 180 degrees, your access becomes off way inside the site, as does your exit. Then you have all your stacking and there's no conflict at Stearns. Did you ever consider there, or do you have a building plan that mirror images access off the other side of the?
I did do a layout or two with it flipped, and then, like I said, it's really a customer convenience and a quicker access to the site. Tommy's typically, pretty much everyone that I know, their orientation of the building is like this, where the exit is towards the street side, but I did look at flipping it around. My own opinion, that probably does fix a lot of the conflict issue, but again, from a customer experience standpoint is the reason why this was submitted this way. And then we went through the agencies and everything else, and the driveway got wider. So that's where.
Yeah, because that puts your, yeah.
We said it a couple of times. My first plan, which we totally wanted, was a separate driveway off of Stearns Road. If we had that, we could eliminate that north connection all to the shared drive as well. But the township and the road commission said, no, you can't have.
Yeah, we understand that. That's, yeah, it's just too many conflicts. Road commission would never permit it.
Yep.
But I did notice that, if you just flip the building, then your vacuums are on the side that's away from all the other stuff. Your driveways become the one that's at the south end of your site, and you just have to do some architectural features to make the front look even better.
Yep, it's just, again, a matter of, instead of.
Yeah, you have to go another
there and there, they
few
have to
hundred
drive
feet,
all the way
yeah.
around the building is.
I understand. It solved the problem.
Yep.
So this is I guess a functional question from planning department. If there's kind of been a straw poll already, but if this were to be denied, we're trying to give as much commentary to the applicant as possible for future revision and resubmission for review in the future. I mean, that they have the avenue to resubmit an adjusted site plan for our review should it be denied, correct?
Yeah, I would say that if they submit a different plan, that it would be a new consideration and a new process.
So I guess we as a commission, it sounds like there's multiple players that are feeling this is going to present danger from a vehicular and pedestrian traffic standpoint. Is the ask from this commission, if this gets denied, to invert the building 180 degrees and come back to us?
I don't
If
think
you
we
so
can give
choose.
that direction.
We're not going to give that direction, but I'm saying
We can state our opinions, and I think our
we
opinions
can-
are very clear on.
Possibly elect to pull their tonight, and we don't have to vote, right?
yeah,
it's too late
they've
to
already
make that
chosen to
decision.
proceed.
That's right.
Could they defer at this point? They've already chosen to proceed, but can they rescind their decision to proceed?
Well, they indicated that they were okay with being one member short and would proceed. If they are willing to pull back and resubmit something different short of a decision tonight, they may have a feeling for what direction the planning commission might go. I think we could adjourn this to a date certain, and they could resubmit, but they may just say no, make a decision tonight, and that's what we'll do.
And if we do, they have a means to go through the formal process with planning again, but it would require review by all parties down the chain again, correct? The
Well, if-
road commission, drain commission,
A revised site plan would,
correct.
to the extent the changes, probably be easy for them to review it, but, yeah, they'd have to go through that again. And if they resubmit a site plan, a revised one, that's gonna have to be reviewed again also by the agencies.
We can't avoid that.
Correct. Can't be avoided.
Okay. Just
It'll be
for my
wait-
information, thank you.
So if they were willing, if they wished to pull back tonight and not seek a decision because they wanted to make some tweaking, they're gonna have to submit the site plan to the agencies.
Yeah.
And,
It's
we've had the public hearing, and the public hearing's been closed. If there were a dramatic change in the site plan, then, maybe in the special approval, then we'd have to maybe have another public hearing. But if they're just doing changes within the site, and not affecting anything dramatic, I would say we do not need another public hearing.
So for the commission members that have expressed their preliminary thoughts or concerns with regards to vehicular access and traffic, I threw out signage for traffic to yield to incoming traffic, right? What are the proposed solutions you guys would want to see as adjustments so that we can maybe try and figure out, are these minor adjustments or are they major adjustments? I would call inverting the building 180 degrees, though it may be a good idea, that's a major adjustment compared to adding a sign.
I would say that that's a major development change, but I will also say that the use doesn't change, and I don't think this use on this parcel is right for it.
That is where I was going to go next. Thank you. Yeah, the special use approval, we're kind of merging this with the site plan here, and they're two different things.
Right.
Special use approval still has to stand on its own merit before the site plan can move forward.
Yeah.
If we're saying no, that we don't think that in general this use meets the safety requirements, and we vote no in that case on the special use, the site plan dies regardless of the changes. If I'm correct, it doesn't matter. You could turn this thing upside down and it's still not a valid use for this area.
I guess what's been implied by some of our commission members is that adjustments to the site plan might fix some of the access issues that are presented in the special approval. So we do need to review the site plan with respect to the special approval.
With relation to the special land use, and I understand the concern and the dialogue here, but you look at the site, or I look at it, and this is obviously a very auto-centric corner, or auto-centric, that's the right word, corner. You have 5 or 6 drive-through restaurants, and from a use standpoint, you literally have the same use 2 doors down. So I don't know how you can say a car wash use isn't acceptable here when you've got an extremely auto-centric area, and you literally have a similar use 2 doors down in the same district. But
Yeah, I'm going to affirm that statement and say there are potentially ways to adjust the site plan
Correct.
to improve traffic flow to alleviate the concern about the danger presented by traffic flow. We can't weigh in on whether we want this use to be here unless it's related to traffic flow. So if we can alleviate the concern, which it sounds like that's the main concern out of these lists that are in our ordinance, to me, it's not a question of the use. We can't say we don't want a car wash here because it's high traffic. I mean, that's.
Well, if it's increasing.
Well, we can on the special land use permit, can we not?
What I'm saying is if the concern is about vehicular access and pedestrian access and traffic, and we can alleviate that somehow, which some options have been thrown out about directions of traffic being manipulated.
The problem is we
It's
can't
not a
force
question of the use. Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if we're going to deny this request, what ammo can we give to these applicants to fix it if they want to bring it back? Otherwise, we're just wasting their time.
So first argument, so yeah, maybe there's some discussion on the site approval, but with regards to the special use, this is a C3, right, guys? So if it's not this, what would it be? So that's what my argument is about the site, the special approval, so push that aside. I can agree that I think there's some discussion around the site plan overall. From a safety perspective, yeah, I would argue there's probably some discussion there. But from a special approval, I would disagree that this isn't a permitted use or that would warrant a special approval.
Well, yes. Agreed. If the use is what is creating inherent danger, it's really not different from some of these other high traffic.
It makes me think a lot of the challenge. Tim Hortons drive-through, their exit and their entrance, and it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Is it beautiful? Is it perfect? No. Does it work just fine? In my opinion, I think it's. I mean, it's not how I would design it, or like the best. It's not perfect, but it's like it works. I don't know. I go to Espresso. I at Lewis and Alexis from time to time and just live life dangerously. You get about 5 seconds, get yourself onto Alexis. Sink or swim in my world.
Try getting out of that one, Chris. That's a tough one to get out of.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm not, well, yeah.
So as it relates to special approval and the site plan, the special approval, we do need to review all of these criteria, but if the objection is to the site plan, not the use, but the site plan, we can reject the site plan on any grounds related to safety or vehicular access or whatever. So if we're worried about the use as it relates to traffic flow, I'm on the same page. Like, we have a lot of uses that are high traffic in this area. So for special approval, we probably don't need to deny special approval, but the site plan, we can put whatever conditions, like we can say, I think we're kind of crossing streams a little bit, but
I guess I'm not convinced that this use, regardless of the layout, is going to be safe and effective for this area.
Agreed.
In this parcel. With that drive and the easement, it's a very unique situation. Kind of goes back to BZA. Everything stands on its own merit, and I would argue special use stands on its own merit on a parcel and case-by-case basis. And this layout with this drive and the inability to get an access off Stearns Road, which I agree with, that's a good design practice to use shared drives and common drives to limit curb cuts and conflict points on a main thoroughfare. I don't know that this special use meets the bar in my mind for safety and the other criteria for this parcel, even if the site layout was changed. And looking at the permitted uses in C3, there are other very less vehicular sensitive, or I guess less vehicle count options that can be put there. There are plenty of other things that C3 allows to be developed someday if it were to be developed.
all right. You have any other comments on this?
I want site plan comments, just a few things, opinions on a couple things. Just, I echo the sentiment of the fencing on the east side, if that's where you're, because one thing, you're 70 feet away from the veterinary clinic, and you're also about 250 feet away from that turning movement, since you're open until I think 10 o'clock at night.
Typically 9, but.
Okay, but after, so you got about 3-4 hours of darkness that turning movement, your headlights are going to shine, and 250 feet away is Hampton Plaza. So some screening along there to buffer that, I think, is absolutely necessary in there from there. And there's the only clarification, Jody does mention in her report that there's a discrepancy. One spot shows 6-foot height of your wall of your screening or of your dumpster, and one shows 8 feet.
Oh, okay.
And it just needs a clarification. I think you had some call-outs of your curbing, one spot being a B curb and then a detail showing an F, which it should be F. And there's some little minor cleanup stuff, but those were the basic things, and just clarifying some of those minor things. But that's the only comments I had with regard to the site plan itself.
Yeah, I have some comments on the site plan too, but I guess it seems like we've all talked through this special approval enough to build a case in our own minds. So I'd entertain a motion on the special approval first. We'll see if it goes through. If it does, I think there's some more site plan restrictions to be put in place for that traffic thing. I think Marty already gave the okay on that.
Yeah, you can go forward with either one and make them conditioned upon approval of the other.
I think he was asking about doing the special approval first to see if that actually went.
That is fine.
That's my opinion of the subject. So if you don't have an opinion, Ed, on how you'd vote for the special approval as it relates to the use, and these things that we're supposed to be reviewing against the use, injury to the district and environs and so on, speak up now, I guess, or I'm looking for a motion.
guess I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the special approval or special land use. What am I saying here? On the grounds that it does not injure the environs, it would enhance and is allowed for. Oh, my new. Sorry. I say that we approve the special use, and the grounds being that this particular use fits the nature of the area, in addition to it aligns with a C3 zoned property.
I'll support.
If I could, before we take the roll, just amend that and the support.
I'm sorry. Can we make for the record that to include the entire section of the ordinance language, that it's not injurious to the district and all of that as well?
That's what I was getting at.
I will, yes.
And I think for the
And then-
sake of voting, let's just read that out, right? And I'm happy to do that. But I just request that we add that this use is not injurious to the district and environs, is not contrary to the spirit and purpose of this ordinance, is not incompatible with existing uses in the area, will not interfere with the orderly development of the area, would not be detrimental to the safety or convenience of vehicular or pedestrian traffic, will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services, will be consistent in assuring the general public health, safety, and welfare, will not be infringed upon, and will be in compliance with all township, county, state, and federal laws and regulations.
Friendly amendment accepted.
And who second? Craig?
Accepted.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Trombley, if you could take the roll, please.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
No.
Mr. Bushman?
Yes.
Trombley is no. Mr. Andrews?
Yes. Okay, so we've granted special approval for this use on the site. Does anyone have any comments on the site plan itself, which can be related to anything you want? It can be vehicular traffic control, it can be safety. Feel free to add whatever you like. I have a list from our conversation. I think, Barry, you said you had a list too.
Yeah, I mean, my comments are coming back with the configurations. Heard all our comments tonight. We'd like to see, it's not our design, it's not our job to design the site for you.
Plan.
So I think it's your job to come back and satisfy us that everything that we're concerned about is properly met. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'll try that. I'm just gonna leave it, I think I'll just leave it on tonight. Anyways, but no, that you,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Mr. Chair, it's 9:52. Could we at least extend the meeting for 15 to
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion to extend the meeting to 10:15.
Support.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, you're stuck.
so basically, to have you come back, given the comments you've heard tonight, extensive comments, to come back with some sort of a new configuration that satisfies the concerns presented tonight. And with the addition of that fence along the east side to buffer those adjacent buildings and the residential properties. And I would say that the comments addressed in the report by the planner, by Jody, be addressed accordingly. I would be willing personally not to make the fence on the south side required.
So just to be clear, Barry, in reference to like the
Items 1 through 6?
traffic flow, because this isn't a motion, this is more just discussion, right?
Correct.
You referenced some of what was discussed, them coming back if we were to deny. I guess, what conditions would you set on them? Because I threw out signage that you must exit right out of the car wash, signage that you yield for traffic along the easement headed north to Stearns. Like, that's, if I were to make a motion, that's what I would include in the motion.
Well, I think I would, Mr. Chair, I would go a little bit beyond that.
Okay.
And say looking at geometric configurations that tried to improve the traffic flow, at the throat of the approach off Stearns and however that's configured. I mean, it could go as far as to flipping a building. It could go as far as to looking to bring the entrance some, it's not our job to design. So
No, it's not.
I would just say that I'd be much more satisfied if it comes back with a better configuration that makes more, from a greater safety perspective.
So my opinion is we can't set that extreme of a condition while approving the site plan, so that'd have to be a denial. And ask them to come back with that information and go through the review process, which that's a fine opinion. Does anybody have any other thoughts on conditions that we want to talk about or set or guardrails?
I guess I'll be vague enough that it's going to require another review probably to see something that's dramatic enough to satisfy my safety concerns. And I'll echo what Barry said, that even if something were to change and not require a fence on the east side, I think screening is appropriate given the residences that are not too far away and the likelihood of traffic light or headlights and other things impeding on that. And I know you'll get a summary for Jody, but if you didn't know, this is also on YouTube and you can listen to the whole conversation again if there's anything that's not clear in the minutes or the write-up or any notes that you have. But I think we had a lot of discussion that should guide you. But again, as Barry said, we're both engineers. It's not our job to engineer it for a developer. It's to come to us with a plan that works.
Go ahead, Marty.
I guess I think you owe it to the applicants to make clear that whether they want you to make a decision on the site plan that's submitted, or you've approved the special approval subject to an approved site plan, which is going to be an amended site plan presented at another time. So I guess I want to make it clear to everybody that it sounds to me like you're not taking action on the site plan that's been submitted, and they're okay with that tonight. Is that correct?
No motion's been made. This is commission discussion, but I'm trying to get a pulse on what we're going to ask them to do with this site plan.
Well, they may say make a decision, and
No, before we end this meeting, I'd like a motion, decision. But I'm trying to add some context to the conversation because I think the applicants now see we're willing to work with this special approval. We also have to provide a site plan, yay or nay.
Special approval, but if the motion moves forward to deny the site plan, it has to go back through the entire process.
Yeah,
They have to
agreed.
go hand in hand together. I just want
That's
to
why
make sure
I'm-
everybody understands
That's
what
why
the motions are.
I'm trying to honor the concerns of our commission as it relates to vehicular traffic specifically, but anything, so that we can make sure those get integrated.
I think we're, and speaking from Ethan here, he's standing right here, but I think we're fine with tabling it to address your concerns. But my question would be that there's two levels of changing here. One of them being completely flip the site, which I've heard a couple of you say. The other being more minor things, narrowing that driveway exit, changing the radius, adding signage. So if possible, I'd like to get a pulse from the planning commission one by one.
That's the straw poll I'm taking.
Exactly,
So
that's what I appreciate.
you've heard from stage left, right?
Yes, and I'd even preface it point blank, do we need to invert the site for you to approve it? Do we need to? Okay.
I do not want anybody here going on the record saying what they will or won't approve at a future meeting.
No, I'm trying to understand.
Or giving an idea what you might approve,
Not a
because
future meeting. I'm trying to understand where the commission stands on conditional. Can the condition,
An opinion of whether you would agree or disagree with something until a motion is made.
I'm trying to understand where each commission member stands on what they want to see changed about this site plan if they're going to ask for
And
it.
that's a good direction. I just don't want anybody giving the applicant that you would either approve or
Yeah,
disapprove something
please don't
that
say,
changes.
please don't say if you're
Yes.
gonna.
Correct.
I threw out a couple signs as maybe a suitable solution that would not require any additional resubmission. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I'll chime in. I'm on the same page as you, Grant. Just a way to maneuver the traffic in a way that alleviates potential conflict would be a fair statement.
Does anyone else want to share their opinions on any of this?
I can share. I mean, inverting the building isn't going to change traffic flow. Posted signs on private property really mean nothing, in my opinion. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way to make it work, but I'd be open to seeing another site plan that would address those concerns.
Thanks. Anybody else have comments? Marty?
I would say if they're going to submit a new site plan, they're going to design it the way they feel is appropriate for their business model and what they want to submit to you. And you may or may not like what they submit, and that'll be up for consideration and a vote at another meeting.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm looking for a motion, and I'd ask that for any motion that you would cite your reasons for approval or denial, just so the applicant knows generally where they need to head if they end up having to resubmit something.
And please review to the analysis I provided also the conditions that were requested in the motion as well.
Yeah, especially for a positive motion.
Question here. What is the motion that you're looking for?
Site plan approval.
You're going to take action on
Can we defer?
as submitted?
Table.
Can we table?
We want to table.
Well, Marty, you said the applicant has the opportunity to defer. What was laid out a few minutes ago is for a substantial change to your site plan, you have to go through the whole process again. So that's regardless of whether
I
we
think this
say,
body will determine that.
yeah, with an approval or denial of the site plan approval. That's my take on it.
So I don't know I want to hear from the applicant what they wish to, how they wish to proceed, whether they want the opportunity to submit a revised site plan or if they want you to vote on this site plan. That's what I'd like to hear.
But I want the applicant to understand that whether they choose to withdraw this application to modify it and bring back to us, or we deny it, they still have to go through road commission, drain commission with respect to soil and erosion sedimentation control. They have to go through the whole process regardless.
Except for special use approval, which you already approved in a public hearing, unless you determine it to be a major change.
So along those lines, just so I'm straight, hypothetically, we leave this meeting and we decide to flip the site. Then we have to get special land use public hearing again? Is that what I'm being told? Is that the major change?
Well, I don't want to for the special approval of the land use has been permitted, and I think it was permitted without respect to this site plan approval.
That's what I'm trying to understand, because we appreciate being tabled so we can revisit more, but if it's a matter of, if we flip the site, then we have to go through the whole process again. I don't see a downside on voting on what we have, because we have to go through that whole stuff again. But if you're saying that the special land use is approved and we're done with that step, then we ask for it to be tabled so that we can look internally to see if we want to flip the site or come up with something else. And we realize that if we didn't make a major change and flip the site, we have to go back through the county and do all that stuff again.
That's correct. So you want to elaborate, Marty?
Well, this is obviously an issue of first impression, and it's a gray area. I guess I would ask the planning commission, in their mind, flipping the site, do they consider that just something, a site plan revision? Or is that something that is a dramatic change that the public should have a chance to speak on at a public hearing?
Can I comment on that?
Please.
I would see that as a revision to the site plan. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but the use isn't changing, nothing else is changing on the site, just the layout.
I would agree. I would say based on our discussions on how we voted on the special use, changing the site plan is not changing the use at that point. It's still the same use. It's just a different configuration of that use on the same parcel.
And I would guess that your entrance approach isn't going to change location specifically. The Drain Commission is going to say that less than 0.7% runoff is going to be okay for the entire site, because you're not going to add any hard surface, or it'll configure however you do. It'll be such minor changes that most of those reapprovals are probably going to be short and fast coming, I would guess, depending on what you decide to do.
I would hope so, but to get to this point, it hasn't been a quick process. I'll put it that way.
Well, it's it's kind of on the applicant to decide, like, how cumbersome the process of getting special approval was against the process of getting the road commission and drain commission's buy-in was. But you do have special approval for the use.
For the special use remains, and we'll go through the rounds of the road commission and drain commission and township engineer again.
So you'd like to defer today?
Site plan tonight, and then we'll revisit it and then come back to you at a later date once we look into it more and address your comments.
Are they allowed to do that, Jody
Marty?
or Marty?
Jody? They can defer site plan approval to a later date after changing.
They're withdrawing it to consider the comments made,
Correct.
and so they're going to resubmit a revised one that they hope will be more consistent with what you're withdrawing. I see no problem. I see no problem with that.
Okay, would you guys like to withdraw, to take into account our comments tonight?
You would like to withdraw to take a look at your comments?
So that way, we're not taking any action on what you submitted.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your patience.
For your time and your comments, are very much
Thank you very
appreciated.
much.
Sure. All right. Moving on to item number 8, public comment. Public comment time is limited to 3 minutes. Anyone want to speak from the public?
Why not? I missed my shows on TV. Okay, Gail Kane, Temperance. First off, traffic at any intersection is a problem. Number 4, I question the quality of this business. If they can charge less for a fast wash, how good of a car wash are they? The impact of our water being pulled from our system. When the algae goes high and we have to buy bottled water, are they going to be washing cars? Remember, they don't live here. They don't care about us. Number 6, 14,000 cars go through Smith and Secor, so that was the latest traffic count. An increase in curb cuts allows you to get a change in your speed limits, to drop them, to lower them. And I question their validity and how much they want to be a part of the community when we have an empty car wash sitting on Lewis on a 5-lane highway that really needs to have somebody take care of it. I don't approve of letting anybody use somebody else's property to make their profit on theirs. You have a liability. And I'm going to tell you what, if their family business is going to put traffic in a bad spot, because I've got family that must use that Stearns Road heading west, they impact my family in any way, I'm going to impact theirs. I will sue them because this should not have been allowed. You didn't let Dunkin' Donut come in, and this was some of the same doggone reason. And if they're impacting the other business because they're the 3rd car wash there, then I guess maybe they need to rally. I don't use Facebook, but I could see Facebook pulling a big rally for a boycott of this business, because that's what's going to have to happen for us, the public, to get a say as to how we want our community to continue to be destroyed. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to speak? Hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 9, information. Jody?
Wednesday, the 25th. At this time, we have no items scheduled. If you will not be in attendance, please let me know. Have a good evening. Thank you for the discussion. And I'm done so we can get out before 10:15.
All right, thanks. Item 10, commission staff comment. Mr. Lake?
No, good discussion tonight. These were 2 very tough topics, so appreciate everyone's candor and being open and honest with each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Mr. Montre?
Yeah, I got some comments. You know, everybody's rolling around in money with car wash memberships on this board.
Not me.
Jeez, I'm from Temperance. I go to Soapy's on Lewis. I use my quarters. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Craig.
I've got nothing.
Honestly, our planning commission covers that.
I guess
We put
so.
our check to every month for the meeting. No, I got nothing.
Barry?
This is my 3rd meeting, and I've sat on many plan commission meetings over the years, and I appreciate the discussion.
this side, so
I'll leave it on all the time. No, I'll just say I appreciate the discussion. You guys are, good to work with, and I appreciate the camaraderie and honest discussion that everybody has.
Thanks, Barry. Katrina, anything? I have nothing. Marty? Nothing. Jody, anything else? All right, I'll wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Jody, I wanted to maybe mention for our 25th meeting, are we going to talk about the CIP? We need to, so for the commission's benefit, we still need to allocate funds for the 2027 fiscal year. We did not do that in our last meeting. And Kyle and Jacob, you.
Try to get it on the 25th, but I'm going to speak with Mr. Miller first to make sure he's able to attend the meeting.
We'll communicate what's needed from this commission if we do have that meeting. But basically, we need to allocate the funds that we adjusted in our last meeting. So, other than that, I think it's my third meeting as chair, and we've gone to 10 like almost twice. So we need to fix something. We need to fix something.
Well, I
All
was
right.
hoping you guys did that last meeting when I wasn't here, so we didn't have to stay late again.
It's 10:11 p.m. Let's go to bed. I adjourn this meeting. Thanks, everybody.